Good evening, I'm Lyndsay and you're watching Poker Night Live, the show that brings you live internet poker 7 nights a week. Not only do you get live internet poker, you also get commentary and analysis from our team of experts, and tonight I'm joined by the lovely Nick Wealthall.
Hello. When
Good evening,
the
Nick.
rest of the team get here? Exactly.
Oh, different nights. The stage is yours tonight, Nick.
Brilliant. Time to give a bit back.
Although I'm not very happy, you're making me look very pale tonight, since you look like you've been abroad.
My garden's a sun trap, Lindsay. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. Even in the winter.
Not a bottle.
Actually, a wipe.
A wipe, oh well. Okay, so we're going to be watching cash games and tournaments tonight. We've also got a multi-table tournament to
You
look
said
at.
it was all right. You said I was metrosexual.
Yes.
I misheard you at first and was angry.
Metrosexual is a good thing to be. It means
Is it?
you're a man who cares about your appearance.
I self-groom.
You should be proud of yourself.
I am proud.
It's better than being a bit of a scruff.
There you go. Knew it.
He's a modern man.
I am. I was just wanting to provide you a contrast to the devilfish. That's
I'm never going to live that down, am I? Listen,
I don't think he is.
Nick,
I don't know about you.
I'm looking forward to tonight's show because after the devilfish, I can handle any man.
And that's how
Do you know, compared to the devilfish, you're a tiddler.
Can we move on?
We can move on. Right, as always, we are fully interactive. It's your show. You decide the direction of the show. So we want your questions. It's amateur night tonight. So
lots of them.
Lots of questions. Please send them through. Nick's here to help you improve your game. You can text us. Just put the word poker on your message and text the word poker to 84222.
A tiddler?
Minnow. Or you can email. The email address is on your screen. It's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, so feel free to ask anything, even if it's a basic question. If you're a new player, it's amateur night tonight, so you can ask anything at all.
Yes, please do. Don't worry if you've just got into the game. It's a really basic question. That's why we're here. Not a problem. And of course, if you've been watching the show for ages, if you're a good player, you can still email.
Yes, you can, absolutely, but don't be afraid to ask anything. Even if you think maybe the question's been answered before, that's fine.
Don't ask anything about tiddlers and things like that, because that was just the introduction. That was a bit of fun, and that's gone now. That's in the past.
It's history, Nick.
Yeah, poker-based.
So we've got a lot coming up tonight, a lot of games to look at. Would you be a gent and take us around the tables?
It would be an undying pleasure. Let's have a look at the games on offer right now, live on Poker Night Live tonight. That is a $2 sit and go.
Woohoo! But about my level.
It's the down the back of the seat money sit and go. I meant to say sofa, I said seat.
Oh, there was a fish on that table as well.
This is a $10 sit and go, slightly more serious.
Bit of ABBA there in the top corner. Fernando.
Good, don't sing anymore, because we will have to pay Bjorn somebody money.
Well aware of PRS.
Exactly. And there's a cash game, very different from a sit and go. Stay tuned, you'll find out how. Oh yeah.
You like a bit of cash, don't you, Nick?
Yes, I like all poker. Worryingly for me. This is a multi-table tournament with 109 runners remaining in it.
And what's the buy-in for that?
$10 at a guess.
Good stuff.
And we will dip into the multi-table tournament throughout the night, and then one of the highlights of the night, always on Poker Night Live, is our final table of the multi-table tournament.
Yes, we normally get to that at the end, but we will look at a few tables along the way and see how they're progressing.
Didn't you recently play a multi-table tournament, Lindsay?
Well, it was a milestone in my poker career last night. I played my first live tournament last night.
Fabulous. And what are you going to do with the winnings?
I didn't win.
Oh.
But I did all right.
Did you?
And I was actually outdrawn quite badly. Apparently, according to Malcolm, the Rock Harwood, I didn't do the wrong thing. And he said that the hand I went all in with, 70 times out of 100, my hand would have won. So I was quite proud.
Do you know
what?
Can you take that to the bank?
I got
Malcolm
past
said.
No, I can't, but I got further than Malcolm.
Good. Excellent.
But guess what put Malcolm out?
Old age.
4 kings.
Really?
Which is very unfortunate.
Wow.
4 kings.
That is very unfortunate. Unless the person had 4 kings and Malcolm called when he
4
bet.
kings, so he was the first one out. So I got further than him. I was quite chuffed because I got past the break.
Did you enjoy it?
I did. I really did
That's
enjoy
good.
it. And
That's
I
the
was
point.
probably a bit timid early on because I decided, because it was the first time I played live, I'd just sit back and just keep folding for the first few hands and just watch what everyone was doing and
was
stuff.
Malcolm helping you?
He was on a different table.
Okay.
It was actually his wife who knocked me out, believe it or not.
My goodness.
Which was quite painful, but I did enjoy it. So, anyway, we'll talk more about live games a bit later on. But should we head to a table?
Yes.
Okay.
I've got no idea where we're going.
We're going to go to the MTT and have a look at how they're getting on there.
I thought it was going to be a magical mystery ride for a minute.
Oh, look, quad eights. Just been talking about quad kings.
It looked like he was thinking about whether to call
Full house. Oh, no, it's not a full house, because quad eights is better than the full house, of course.
It's like a full...
He could have had a full house if he wanted.
What is a full house of quads? Is it a full womb or something?
I don't know.
I'm going to call it a full womb from now on.
Okay.
Yeah, obviously, the best 5 cards play, so... It'd be 4 of a kind.
So we started with 129 runners in the MTT, 17 tables, and the blinds are going up every 12 minutes.
Okay. Sounds like a lot of fun.
It does sound like a lot of fun.
Can I still get in?
Oh, too late, Nick, I think.
Really?
Too late.
It's an imperfect world, isn't it?
So we've got Senor Whippy in the top corner. Buffy
You like
be
that,
good.
don't you?
Canary Jim, Andy O, Rob, and M. Cosgrove.
You lasted longer than Malcolm the Rock Harwood.
I did.
That's
I lasted
awesome,
longer than
he's
The
the
Rock.
top player.
So I was quite happy that I got further than him.
Very good.
But to go out on Quad Kings, you can't really say it was his fault, can you?
No.
And it was a girl as well, and I think he just thought there was no way she had such a good
It was a
hand.
girl. Even the best go out early sometimes.
But Ace 10 was an unlucky hand last night because he had Ace 10. That's what he pushed in with. And she ended up with Quad Kings. And the hand that knocked me out was Ace 10. Because I pushed in with a pair of jacks.
Uh-huh.
Called by Ace 10.
Uh-huh.
Flop came, it was fine. And then the ace came on the turn.
That's dirty, isn't it?
It was horrible. But it was good. It was
Did
good
you feel a
fun.
little bit sick?
I did feel a bit sick.
It's not nice, is it?
No.
It's never nice going out of a tournament.
But I was
Doesn't matter
glad
how many
that
you've played.
I played because I was really nervous about it at first. So I was glad that I did it finally, and now I think the next time I'll enjoy it a lot more.
Yes.
Because the first few hands I was just folding everything because I just wanted to watch what everyone was doing.
Yeah.
And just take it all in. I had to learn how to peek at my cards from the table like
bless.
that. Just pull up the corner so no one could see.
Uh-huh. It is tricky at first. But it's one of those things where you just have to jump in.
Yeah.
Because until you've done it, it's going to be
That's the thing,
nerve-wracking,
everyone can
isn't it?
tell you what it's like and what to do so many times, but I think the best thing to do is experience it.
Absolutely.
There's no substitute for experience.
I've used that argument in other scenarios. Doesn't always work. So this is our multi-table tournament. We can obviously only see one table at a time. Somewhere in the digital multiverse, there are another...
The multiverse?
Yeah. 16 tables or something like that. And this tournament will continue. You can see the players have got their amount of chips in front of them, and this tournament will continue until one player has all of the chips from all of the players. Imagine that.
It was our boss who ended up with all of the chips last night.
It's not the boss
He
of
won
me.
the tournament. I just lost Dodgy Geordie from this table.
It's
And
all
no,
right, we've
it's
got
not
one
me.
here. Hey! Oh,
It wasn't me.
It writes itself.
Less of the dodgy.
Little bully. So for those of you that are new to poker, we will be taking you through
The
the
basics.
basics very quickly,
Yep.
because I'm not a man with much patience. No, but if there's anything that's particularly hard for them to understand, they can
People
email
can
in.
ask, yeah.
We
And of
do
course,
want you to email in,
the
guys.
best thing to do is to watch as many hands being played as possible, isn't it?
staging to Poker Night Live is always the best course of action.
Absolutely.
Looks like 2005 Chelsea is going to win this one.
Makes a change. Chelsea winning something?
Don't be bitter.
They should share it around a bit, shouldn't
Newcastle
they?
win something one day.
They should,
not football, obviously.
They should spread the joy. They should. Definitely.
Well, I don't know. They don't seem very keen to at the moment.
No, definitely not. Well, we've got Beat the Presenter as well coming up. We'll.
Is that you playing poker?
Me
Against
playing
the general
poker.
public?
So I'm making a habit of it now. I was playing live last night. I'm going to be playing online at 11 o'clock and...
It says there, Lindsay, pitting their wits.
Pitting my wits.
Yes,
I need to find some wits first.
Well,
Can I borrow some?
Well, it says it there, so you better.
I better find some. And then we'll be watching the game back at 12 o'clock and you'll be constructively criticising my play. Yeah?
And pointing and laughing.
Yeah, probably. Depending on... Well, I came 4th last time, so I need to try and get in the money this time.
I've played 2 so far, and I've come 5th and 7th, I think.
Right.
So, you know, I can't criticise.
Well, I need to try and do better than 4th. That's my aim tonight. So 11 o'clock I'll be playing. Nick will continue to commentate on the poker. Then 12 o'clock we'll watch back that particular game. And hopefully, because I'm a fairly new player as well, all the new players out there can learn from the mistakes I make.
Well, that's kind of the idea, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that we can look at what people tend to do wrong and easy ways to improve.
Yes, certainly.
You'll be poker superstars by the end of tonight.
Well, before that, we're going to head over to another table. This is a sit and go. It's a $2 sit and go. So let's head over to that table now.
So each of these players has paid $2, which is roughly £1.30.
Yeah. Did your sums well?
Cost of a family-size Milky Bar bar. I know, I just bought one.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. £1.20 something.
I'm glad you bought a family size one though. So
Yes, we've busted your diet wide open. haven't we?
yeah, the soup diet went out the window. Nick was in the
Busted.
building 2 minutes tonight and gave me some Milky Bar.
How can you have a soup diet? You can't live on soup.
Yeah, you can.
Well, you've just proved you can't.
Well, I only had 4 squares of Milky Bar. I'll go back
Uh-huh.
to the soup tomorrow.
Well, Milky Bar's not done, Lindsay, so I think you're counting a lot
No,
of chickens.
you're having it. So at $2 to buy in, everyone started off with 1,000 chips. Blinds are on the second level now, 20-40.
Yes.
And be going up every 10 hands.
Yes.
Which last night they were going up about every 15 minutes, which I thought was a bit harsh. It was quite quick.
It's very fast.
Very quick.
And a live game, obviously. Yeah. So, for those of you new to the show, this is an 8-person tournament. So, we were just looking at a multi-table tournament where there were other tables
Yes.
in the digital universe.
Those tables get merged together as people knocked out. But
Yes, but this, all the players in this tournament are visible on screen.
yeah.
As Lindsay said, they all pay $2, and that goes into a prize pool totaling $16.
That's right.
Yes. See, I've got my wits very much about
It's
me.
the top 3 who are in the money.
That's right. Basically, they play no limit hold'em, and in a tournament, when you run out of chips, when your chips are down to 0, that's it. You're done, and you leave. So
Yes.
it's kind of last man standing, basically.
Yeah.
And the last 3 remaining, as Lindsay says, share out that prize pool. 50% for first place, 30% for second, 20% for first. And if you want to know how that breaks down, simply get a calculator and work it out based on a prize pool of $16.
Because you can't be bothered.
I can't be bothered. It's $8 for first place, that much is certain.
Yes. So different to a cash game, the numbers under the names here are chips, and once those chips are gone, these guys are out. They can't buy in again. That's it. Which is quite a good idea for a new player, though, because you know you're spending your $2 or your $1 buy-in, and that's it. You can't be tempted to keep putting more and more money in.
Yeah, that's true. Well, Chelsea's made a curious call there and lost some chips. So let's quickly rattle through the basics.
Yes, you've got the
Lyndsay.
dealer button there, which is on Mad Nev.
It's brilliant because you know it all now, so I don't need to do it, do I? You can do it.
Thanks. And the two amounts to the left of Mad Nev are the blinds. 20 is the small blind, and the big blind, which is 40, always twice as much as the small blind. And they are like the antes, they're compulsory bets, which the two players to the left of the dealer button have to put in. It puts money in the pot and gives the players an incentive to play. That dealer button moves around clockwise every hand so that everyone takes their turn putting the blind in.
That's right.
That's right.
And those blinds escalate, as you said, every 10 hands. Now, what that does is it forces the action because the blinds eventually become so big that they become a threat to players' chips and their stack, and so they have to make moves, and that means that we get a result within about 30-35 minutes, so it's fast and furious.
Puts a time limit on it. Those blinds, when they go up, they become very dangerous, start to eat away at people's chip stacks. But at this stage, still fairly timid and a lot of play left in this tournament.
Very much so.
Now, the betting rounds. If we've got any brand new players, should we quickly run through that?
Yeah.
So after
this is the end of a hand.
Yes.
And basically, you end up with access to 7 cards, 2 cards unique to you in front of you, which are in those boxes. We should point out, obviously, we can see all the cards via the magic of TV. The players in the games obviously can only see their own cards.
Yes.
And as you can see, they start with 2 cards each, and they will end up with 5 cards across the middle, as was just in the last hand. And those are community cards. Now, the object of this game, which you need to drill into your head if you're just starting to play, is to make the best 5-card hand.
Yes.
So your best 5 cards will always count. Now, that could be the 2 in your hand and 3 from the cards in the middle, 1 from your hand and 4 from the cards in the middle, or it could in fact be all 5 cards in the middle, though if you're relying on that you're in trouble because obviously everybody's got that.
Yeah.
So that's the aim of the game, to make the best 5-card hand, and there are 4 betting rounds to get you there. The first betting round, as you can see, is happening now. It's before any community cards come out. So you're making a decision just based on your first 2 cards, which may seem a little bit difficult if you're new to the game, but actually becomes pretty straightforward. And
to see the first 3 cards come down, you have to at least call the amount of the big blind.
Yes, the principle is that the betting must always be equalised. Everyone must always have put in the same amount in order for the game to move to the next round. So the bet's been made up to 200 here, so the remaining players are deciding whether to make their bet up to 200. So Chelsea would have to have put in another 160 to carry on. Once everybody's made that decision, whether to equal the bet or throw their cards away, we've completed the betting round, we move on. In this case, we move on to the flop,
which is the first 3 community cards. Now you see 8, King, 7, all different suits, because we use a 4-colour deck on Poker Night Live to make it easier to spot.
That's right.
Spot the flushes and things.
3 cards come down, there's a betting round, another card comes down, a betting round, and then a final 5th card and a betting round. Now, if both players decide not to bet, which is known as checking, then that's the same as the betting being equalised. So if all the players in the hand check, i.e. they eschew the option to bet, but stay in the hand, if they all check, then that's fine, and we move on to the next betting round.
But you can only do that if everyone before you is checked.
Correct.
As long as no more money is being put into the pot. If someone makes a bet, that has to be equalised.
Correct.
Or
it
raised.
Does.
But you have the option to raise.
You have the option to raise. You do. If the bet gets to you, you can increase the bet.
Which has to be at least double
at least
the big
double
blind.
the bet, yeah. Well,
in the first round.
In the first round. Basically, it has to be double whatever the bet was. And that's just to stop people going, I bet 40, I make it 41, I make it 42, and we'd be here all night.
Yeah.
So that's the reason for that. And because we only show no limit games on Poker Night Live, and we show those because they're the most exciting, there is no limit to the amount you can raise it. So at any point, for example, King Whip here, if he wanted to, he could put all 1,340 of his chips into the middle, if he thought that was the best idea.
Yes.
So that's how we play Texas Hold'em, and the last remaining bit of information you need is what you're trying to achieve, which is to make the best 5-card hand. Actually, there's 2 objectives. The first is to make the best 5-card hand, but there's another objective, which if you're quick on the uptake, and you can follow me as I talk far too fast. I don't know why that's happening, Lyndsay.
It's not to make the best 5-card hand.
But to make a bet that nobody else equals.
That's it. You don't have to have the best hand in Texas Hold'em to win the pot. That's the great thing about the game.
That's the unique thing about poker.
Yes.
When I'm teaching beginners, I always use the same analogy, which is it's like being 2-0 down at football, telling the other team you're actually winning 3-2, and they believe you.
Yes.
That's the equivalent of it. It's that drastic.
If you can convince someone you've got the best 5-card hand, as long as they fold their cards,
yeah,
then you've still won the pot. It doesn't matter.
You can't actually just say it to them. You have to bet. You can't.
And unless you show them, they'll never know.
They'll never know. So if let's see, when somebody bets, so K. Jedden here has got a pair of aces, using the ace in his hand and the ace on the board. He bets 120. If the other two players don't want to equal that bet and throw their cards away, KJ Jedden would be awarded the 620 chip pot, and he wouldn't have to show his cards. And we know he's got a pair of aces, but he could have anything. He could have 2, 3 as
Damn
those
Tilt
cards.
actually has a better hand.
He does.
His bet could be big enough. Oh, it's not in this case, because Damn Tilt has come over the top of him.
I think he was going for Damn Tilt again, but what it's come out as is Damn Tilt Arga. Now, if you ever try and tilt an Arga, you're going to put your back out, because they are massive.
Yes.
So please don't take that as an instruction if you're watching at home.
Try not to.
They make terrific bread, though.
They're a bit... You don't really see them in the city very much, though.
No, not really. That would be a whole flat, wouldn't it?
Yes.
They're just showing you that the table can move in and out of the screen.
Now we've
One of the
got
many facilities we have here on the show.
the best hand in poker there for Mad Nev, the pocket rockets.
Lay bullets.
Yep.
American Airlines.
Lots of names for the aces there, but
10-2, no, 2 aces, yes. Best starting hand, but the best starting hand can go wrong after the flop, and even if you just take an uphold, I'm sure that's apparent, because you've only got 2 cards out of what will be 7 that are accessible to you. So if you get a good starting hand, that's great, but too many people get too upset when their good starting hands lose. You've got to remember, it's only your first 2 cards.
yeah, they're still vulnerable.
They're vulnerable, absolutely.
So sometimes it's better to make your bet big enough so that everyone folds and you don't even see the flop, then at least your hand's safe. Although, when you get the best hand in poker, sometimes you want to maximise the amount you win, so you do want to see some more cards.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is we're trying to maximise our wins and minimise our losses at this game. So the way of doing that can vary an awful lot from situation to situation. Do we want to go through the hand rankings? Do we need to do that, or do people know them? I can hear every regular viewer of the show
It's going, we know them,
no.
we know them.
All right, look, you're trying to make the best 5-card hand rankings in accordance with the hand ranking table, and that is based on statistical likelihood of them occurring.
Yes.
I'm not going to go through them. If you don't know them, pop on the internet, type in hand rankings, and they'll come up for you.
And they'll be there. And the best thing to do is to print them off and keep them beside you when you're playing if you're a new player.
Yes.
That was what I did when I first started. I had them beside me. And you can keep referring back to it, see what you've got, see how many possible other hands are going to be better than yours, what the chances of people of making them are.
Absolutely.
And keep it beside you while you're playing.
Puck Junior has a pair of 9s, but that's just been overtaken by... Is that llama fish?
I think it is.
You couldn't breed a llama and a fish, could
Llama fish. I've gone off fish after last week.
you? Yeah.
That's why I'm on a soup diet.
Yeah, that's fair. Guys, if you are starting poker or if you're new to the show, we're particularly keen to hear from you tonight. Obviously, we're keen to hear from all of you. We love it when you get in touch. But if you're new to the show and if you're new to poker, particularly email in poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
That's it, yeah, definitely get in touch. And of course, if you've got a first live tournament coming up or a live game coming up, we'd like to hear from you. I played my first one last night. The text number's on your screen now. Just put the word poker on your message and text your question to 84222, or you can email us if it's a bit of a longer question. Just pop it on an email. The address is poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. So any questions, new players, or if you've just got a comment to make about the show or you want to tell us about your first live tournament, we'd love to hear from you.
Or if you've been... I was going to say something inappropriate. I've dodged that bullet. Yard 1975 with the raise. He's got King Jack, which is not the most exciting starting hand in the world. Has a little bit of potential. 2 high cards. Obviously, in this game, high cards better than low cards.
Absolutely.
There'll be tips of that quality throughout the night.
But of course, the ace can be a low card in a straight. You can have ace 2, 3, 4, 5.
You can. That's any time it's low.
Yes.
In a normal poker game. But you can't have, like I thought you could when I started playing, you can't have Queen, King, Ace, 2, 3. That's not a straight.
It stops at the ace at the top.
Stops at the ace.
It's capped.
Very sensibly. So we're in the 3rd round of this single table tournament.
Yes.
The blinds at 40 and 80. So still in the reasonably early stages, but it won't be long before those blinds get so big that they are a problem for people.
So we've got called by the 6s there with Yard, but I think there's going to be a raise when we get around to Llama Fish.
Well, that's what you want.
It's already happened.
That's what you want when you've got aces. Somebody else building the pot for you.
He's all in. Which is the beauty of no limits. Well,
it's the excitement of it.
Yes.
They say
it
no
can be
limit.
detrimental as well.
It can be. They say no limit poker is hours aboard and moments of terror.
Right. Well, King Whip's hit his king.
Well, another heart would actually split the pot because they would have both had flushes, but it doesn't happen.
So the best hand there is 2 pair for Llama Fish with the king.
Aces, 10s and king, absolutely. King Whip really overplaying his King Jack.
Yeah.
It's not that great.
It must have been worrying with all those hearts on the board as well.
Well, he put the money in beforehand, didn't he?
Yeah.
He actually needed another heart so he could get a split. But the thing that we'll try and teach you guys is that when people make bets and when they make raises, they are talking to you. The language of poker is bets and raises and checks, of course. And you need to listen to what the other players are saying to you. So when King Whip bets before the flop there and Llama Fish raises, obviously he can't see Llama Fish's cards.
Yes.
Like we can. But he knows that in order to re-raise for all of his chips, bear in mind that if he's wrong, he goes out of the tournament. Llama Fish really has to have a good hand. He could be bluffing, but at this stage of the tournament, it's actually quite unlikely.
It's one thing because we can see everybody's cards on Poker Night Live. It's one thing that you do learn as you watch more and more of the games is that it's very rare if someone re-raises before the flop that they're bluffing.
It's incredibly rare. Yeah, I agree with you. If you get into serious tournaments and sort of play with some of the better players and there's a little bit more bluffing and trying to outmaneuver people. But even so, you're absolutely right. A re-raise before the flop usually means a very good hand. And King Whip didn't listen to what Llama Fish was telling him with his chips.
Yeah.
Should have thrown his cards away, didn't.
And especially if there's a risk that it's going to put you out of the tournament at the stage where the blinds are still fairly low, you've got to ask yourself, someone's re-raised you before the flop, is it really worth the risk? And generally, you should probably give them respect for having a really good hand.
You should. Definitely.
Mad Nev, it's got Ace King now. Lots of good hands coming out tonight.
Yeah, let's see if he can be bold and bet, even though he hasn't connected with the flop. He does, and that pays off. So something else we'll highlight tonight. Aggression is usually the easiest way to make money in poker. It's not the only way. There are lots of different strategies that you can employ in this game. But the reason aggression the reason poker lends itself to aggression is what we talked about before, which is the 2 ways to win. You can win by having the best cards, but you can also win by making a bet no one else calls. Now, the only way that you can do that is if you're the one making the bet or you're the one making the raise, you're effectively asking the question of the other player as to whether he wants to hang on to his cards or not.
Yeah.
As we see Kay Jedden make 3 jacks,
Yeah.
didn't need them, he's already had 4 jacks.
Oh.
Good God.
4 of a kind there.
That's 2 lots of quads since we've been on the air.
It's amazing. Because last night when I was playing in this tournament, first time I've ever known, we had 4 kings, which knocked Malcolm out.
Yeah.
And then later on, someone else ended up with 4 aces.
That's very
But it's
unusual.
very, very unusual that you see quads.
And not unexciting.
No. And the other thing is, as well, is if you do keep just calling and checking and you've got a fairly good starting hand, you're giving people the chance to outdraw you, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you're not putting in a big bet to show strength, you're not going to push anyone off, and there's a possibility when the turn card comes down and the river card that they can outdraw you.
Absolutely. I tend to teach people quite a straightforward way of playing poker because it tends to be the best way. When you've got a good hand, you should usually bet it. When you've got a bad hand, you should usually throw it away.
Yeah.
It sounds incredibly obvious, but we see so many people, especially beginners actually, when they get a good hand, they get so worried that they're not going to get paid that they play it very slowly, and either they don't get paid because the other players don't have anything, or even worse, the other players improve their hand, as you said, for nothing, and they end up having a better hand than them and didn't have to pay for the privilege.
It's like if you've got aces and someone else was sitting there with a pair of 2s, if you're only calling, you're making it very cheap for them to see another card, so chances are they're going to stay in the pot. If they get another 2 on the turn of the river, they've
Absolutely.
got, you know, their little 2s are going to beat your pair
Their
of
little
aces.
2s.
The little ducks.
Little ducks.
So yeah, it sounds very simple and obvious, but it's something a lot of people forget to.
They do, and yeah, I think people very often, even experienced players, very often overcomplicate poker. In fact.
So the blinds are 80, 160 now.
Yeah, we're going to start to lose players.
Yeah.
With the blinds getting up there.
We've normally lost a couple more by this stage, haven't we?
Down to Arga, looks like he might steal one here. He does.
Going to leave the tournament for just a bit. We will get back to that. Just want to get an email in quickly. This one is from Chaz, who says, I've got my first major live tourney coming up on the 5th of April at Jack's Bar in West London. We get 3,000 chips and the blinds start at 25.50 and they double every 30 minutes. There are 80 runners and a prize pool of £5,000 with only the top 8 getting paid, with first place taking £1,500. Have you got any advice for me, as I've only been playing for about 9 months online and 5 months live? My sit and go level is $10 with a good profit and cash games of $1, $2. Any advice would be grateful, especially with some good wit thrown in by Nick.
What?
You must be confusing me with someone else,
No,
Nick.
it's just that...
You used the word wit and Nick in the same sentence. My goodness.
Don't be cruel, Lyndsay, because just because I'm not the devilfish
Oh.
doesn't mean to say that I can't.
I'm never going to live this down.
See? I've decided to...
He's getting angry
I've decided
now.
to destroy the set as protest. Right, advice and wit. Here we go. Not necessarily in that order. Not necessarily either of them, actually. The first thing to do is to... did he say it was his first live tournament of any kind?
It's his first major live tourney,
okay.
but he's
So he's
played
played
live
live
for about
before.
5 months.
Fine.
Yeah.
I think the most obvious bit of advice is easier said than done, which is to treat it like any other poker game. I think if you start kind of loading it with added importance and get worried about it and try too much to work out sophisticated strategies for how you're going to make the most of the opportunity, I think it'll just become too big a deal, and I think you stand a good chance of it freaking you out and you're not playing a natural game. You say you've been playing online for a while, you've already played a bit of live, so you know what Hold'em's all about. And it's just another game of Texas Hold'em. I know that if you win, the prize will be substantially bigger than you used to, but you're already in the tournament, so you don't need to worry about, did he win his place or not? Didn't say.
No.
Okay.
There's... How many places are getting paid, do you mean?
No. I was just wondering if he'd actually paid the entry. Or
right.
If it is more of an entry fee than you're used to paying, try really hard not to worry about that, because you've paid the entry and that's gone. If I was your poker teacher or mate or whatever, I'd be spending all of my time trying to get you to just treat it as another game, just another normal game of Hold'em, because it is, because the blinds will be the blinds, the chips you have are the chips you have, a flush still beats a straight. So, you know, you have to have that mentality, otherwise you will freeze up. And I'm just talking from experience, because the first time I jumped up in tournaments many years ago, and I think I'm right in saying I played a £250 or something like that. I spent a long time trying to plan a strategy and trying to figure out how best to play, etc., etc., etc. And all that happened was I froze up when I played and wasn't able to make the moves I usually would, play with the conviction I usually would. And confidence is everything at poker. Yeah. If you're not confident, you won't play well. So I would be confident that you're a winning player and sit down and play to the best of your ability. As to specific bits of advice, I always a little bit wary of this with tournaments, because you have to be adaptable, because your experience in a tournament will completely depend on who you sit down with. If you sit down with Devilfish, you'll probably try and bite your neck on a regular occurrence, so I'm told. If you sit down and there are a couple of really aggressive players at your table who are raising every hand, that could blow your game plan out of the water. So my advice would be to not to have too much of a stringent game plan. I know some people set, you know, I'd like to be at this many chips by the end of this level. It's fine to have an overall idea, and I don't know your game, so I don't know the best strategy for you. Having an overall idea objective is fine, but don't set specific targets, because they could be blown away. My one piece of advice, which I've been using for years and I guarantee is extremely helpful, is after you've sat down at your table, you should try and take everything in all the time, be switched on 100% from the word go, watch every hand, try and guess what the players have, even if you're not involved in the hand. And my tip is, after 15 minutes, go round each player that's playing at your table in your head, and if you do it out loud, they don't appreciate it, and give yourself a little report on what you know about that player, but actually hear yourself saying the words so that it really goes in. So the player to your left is raising, like you say, right, he raises a lot of pots, he will fold if you re-raise him, and just understand how much you know about those players. And if you don't know anything after 15 minutes, well, then that's someone you need to focus on in the next 5-10 minutes, because you'll probably be sitting there with them in that tournament, 30-minute levels, for a couple of hours, and you need to make sure your observation skills are on cue, and also that you know which players you can take advantage of and which you can't. So that would be my one specific piece of advice. And the other thing is get lucky. That really helps in a tournament.
You could have spoke to me before I went last night.
I don't care how you do.
Thanks.
No, yeah,
and
well, I wish I had.
follow the dealer as well. That was one of the things last night that because it was my first time and I was a bit nervous. The dealer tells you everything that you need to know. There's no need to be...
Absolutely.
They'll guide you around. They'll tell you how much you need to, if you want to match the raise, or, you know, and they're there to help you.
Actually, I'll tell you the other thing I'd say to you and to Chaz and everybody else that's early in their poker career. Never be intimidated at a poker table. If you can have that one goal in mind, you're halfway there to be a winning poker player. Doesn't matter. If you end up sitting down next to a pro or someone you've seen on TV, or someone that knows everybody else in the card club and everyone's kind of being deferential to them, doesn't matter, because I tell you what it is, they only get the same number of cards as you and they only get the same number of chips as you, and they can't do anything you can't do.
They're only human.
They're only human. I mean, not if you play me, obviously you're in serious trouble, but in general, I always say to myself, he's only, because when I first started going out to Vegas and started playing satellites at the World Series, you do sit down with people that literally have World Championship bracelets on.
Well, the first thing someone said to me when I sat down at the table was that, oh, the girl sitting 2 seats away from me was one of the best female players in the country at the moment. I was like, oh, thanks very much.
Well, you know, good luck to her. I'm sure she is. The thing is, she doesn't get 3 cards.
No.
She still only gets 2 cards in her hand. And you can still get a good hand to beat her. The beauty of this game is that on a given night, anybody can beat anybody, and particularly in a tournament, anybody can win a tournament. I mean, our boss Sam won a tournament last night. Anyone can. No, seriously, anybody can win a tournament. You could, Chaz, you have a chance of winning that tournament that you're playing in, even though it's your first time at B level. So go in believing that and don't be intimidated.
And good luck, 5th of April. Let us know how you get on afterwards. Send us an email in and tell us all about it. And good luck to you. We're going to get back to the tournament for a little bit and see how they're getting on.
Probably over, seeing as how I managed to bang on for.
No, but it's all helpful. All helpful.
Let's hope so. Poker
Right.
Junior versus Yard, Ace Queen versus Jacks. Very close contest. Jack's a slight favourite.
Jack's put me out last night. I hate them now.
You look a little bit
I
sad.
hate them.
You're tearing up a little bit, Lindsay. They didn't put you out, did they?
They did.
Well, they didn't really.
They did.
They were the hand you went out with.
Yeah.
You got to go out with something.
Yeah, I suppose. I suppose.
You didn't do anything wrong.
Well,
Except
I was told afterwards I didn't.
That's good. And you were told by Malcolm.
Yes.
He's a top player, so he obviously didn't.
Because I went all in, and I was called by Ace 10.
Did you have many chips?
I had 1,300 left, but the blinds were 100, 200 at that point. So I was waiting for a hand, and I thought I might not get better than Jack, so I'll push in and try and double up now. Got called by Ace 10. Flop came down, everything was fine, and then the Ace came on the turn.
And how many chips did the Ace 10 person have? A lot, or not very many?
Not very many more than me, but then they took mine.
Well, I would say that they probably made a little mistake.
And it was Malcolm's wife, which made it even more cruel. But Malcolm said afterwards that 70 times out of 100 my Jacks would have won that hand.
He's right, of course.
So I didn't really do anything wrong, it was just unfortunate. But you have to get over these things, don't you?
You do if you want to play poker, I'm afraid. If you want to play poker, I'm afraid you do. Well, we're down to our last 4 players. The next one out will be the last one to leave without a prize, and that will be Madnev, unless he hits his hand, which he has. He's got the 8. Oh, and he's unlucky on the river. K. Jedden hits the 10, although K. Jedden could justifiably claim that he had the best hand at the start. And we're down to our prize winners. Mini Mexican Wave for them.
Woohoo!
They're sharing out the $16 prize pool. 50% will go to first, 30% second, 30% and something else to third.
It is true though, in the tournament, I mean, it's so unpredictable because when we were watching the final table last night, the best hand wasn't winning.
Really?
When they were obviously it was down to about 4 or 5. They could all keep going all in. The blinds were absolutely crippling.
Starting to understand.
But the best hand was never winning.
Starting to understand a little more how Sam won it.
Well, actually, to be fair, he did actually win it with aces at the end, and I was sitting there thinking, heads up, getting aces.
That is winning in
heads
style.
Up, yeah. And he slow played them as well, which was very cruel. He played them well, but I felt sorry for James, who came second.
Did you?
Yes. Because no one would have put him on aces, and to get aces at that stage of the game, heads up.
Very nice timing.
Yeah, very nice.
So these blinds are now the key factor in this tournament. 326.40, extremely high, and players will be in jeopardy every hand now. Puck Junior's going to be in jeopardy because K. Jedden's going to call here. It's only another 200 chips. I hope he's going to call. Yeah. He does. Well, a 7 or a 10.
Oh, there's his 7.
It's a 6 card straight. You get nothing extra for that. Well, that's the end of Puck Junior. And we're heads up. Last 2 players for the money. And obviously K. Jedden's got the dominating chip stack here. Llamafish needs to win this hand and has flopped a straight, so there you are. That's a pretty nice time to do that. And again, Llamafish is going to need to win, again in jeopardy, but hits his hand, and he had the better hand to start with. Oh, and that's unfortunate. K. Jedden has made a straight, and that's going to be all she wrote. Well done, K. Jedden. Yes. You are a winner.
The tournament winner. And
write in and tell us what you're going to do with your winnings.
Yes, let us know. Here's the stats for you, Nick.
Wow.
Calls and raises.
That's a lot of
Look
numbers.
At that.
Basically, this tells you the different styles of the players in the tournament. And you can see, interestingly, that the most aggressive player won.
Yes.
Jen was raising the most before the flop, probably playing a lot too many hands, but at least had a bit of aggression in there, and that helps a lot.
Depending on the table you're playing at.
Yeah, but the thing about Hold'em is that if you are aggressive, you are halfway there.
Yeah.
You do. It is a game that rewards aggression. There are players that have a different style who sometimes there are players that play more passively and they can make a winning style out of that. But really, the vast majority of the top players are very aggressive.
Yeah.
They don't play many hands, but when they play a hand, they play it with a lot of aggression. It's a key factor. And most beginning players, when they take up the game, are much too passive.
Yes. Too timid.
Too timid.
No room for timid
Be
little
brave,
mice in this
guys.
game. You've
There
got to be
aren't.
tough. Got to be tough.
Very tough.
Right, I've got an email from Biss the Tall, is his name. So thank you for your email. He says, what are the advantages or disadvantages of pot limits, fixed limits and no limits? I find pot and fixed restrictive and not as much fun.
Apparently we've only got 2 minutes, so this is going to be tricky. 3 different forms of poker. Fixed limits, there's a dictated amount that you can bet on each street. And these games are played predominantly in America, in American casinos. American casinos invented them, actually, because they make more money off them. And then what I learnt when I was a little kid, playing
little
poker
boy.
at 24.
Little jammy, sir.
That's right. Little chip collector. Fixed limit, pot limit does what it says on the tin. You can bet whatever's in the pot at that time, and no limit. Obviously, the games are shown on Poker Night Live, no limit. Very, very difficult to do the merits of all of them and demerits of all of them quickly. I'll give you a potted thing. Fixed limit poker is a much more mathematical game, I think. Basically, your money will go through less swings when you play in fixed limit games. That's the advantage. The disadvantage is it's not as much fun to play in. And it's probably true to say that less skilled players have more of a chance of beating skilled players. Over the long run, as ever in all poker, a skilled player can make money at fixed limit. And actually, because your bankroll doesn't go through so many fluctuations, it's sort of easier to make a living at. Pot limit, Biss the Hall doesn't like pot limit. I do. I love pot limit, especially in cash games. Pot limit is a game where it's very difficult to protect your big hands before the flop. Now, I actually like that because I think in modern poker there's too much emphasis on the first 2 cards, and Hold'em's a beautiful game when played after the flop because you can represent hands based on what's out there. You can bluff more, manoeuvre more, you can put people on hands more easily. So that's why I like pot limit, because you can see a lot more flops because it's not expensive, and then the bets get big, so it gets more skillful later on. No limit, probably the most fun, probably the most exciting. You put all your chips in at once. But in a no-limit cash game, good players destroy bad players because the mistakes that bad players make are magnified much more because the size of the bets is much bigger. But in a tournament format, no-limit works well because everything can be on the line in any one hand, and a bad player can be a good player because the good player can't go and get more money. That's like a pot. That's as fast as I can do it, guys.
It can be a cruel world in no limit.
No limit. Well, no limit is tough. No limit is probably the hardest of them to play. I would recommend pot limit to you. I don't know why you don't like it. Especially for a cash game, I think it's great personally.
I've never played it before, but
it's fun because you can see a lot of flops cheaply, but then the skill comes in after the flop. It's a little bit less frustrating than no limit because you don't lose so many chips in one hit as often, basically.
Okay, we'll get some more emails and texts a bit later on. If you want to send them through to us, you can text us 84222, put poker on your text. We've got lots of poker news coming up for you, and then a break, so we'll see you soon. Stick around. Welcome back to Poker Night Live.
Hello.
It's Lyndsay and Nick with you until 2 o'clock watching live internet poker.
We are.
We are. Nick's going to be giving you a commentary on a game very soon. It's AM night tonight as well, so please do get your questions through to us. Comments and questions, ask anything at all. You can text us here in the studio. The number to text is 84222. There it is on your screen. Just put the word poker on your message, or you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk, which lots of you have been doing so far. Now it's Beat the Presenter now, so I'm actually playing online, believe it or not.
You are?
I am.
You like playing and talking?
On a sit and go. So
which you can do
thank you
because
to
you're a
everyone at
woman.
the table for welcoming me.
Are they being welcoming?
Are you going to
wish... Are they being rude?
No. Well, they're being quite polite.
Right.
Quite polite. Although someone's put, you guys really need to stop using poker sides to fantasise. Goodness me. But hello to you all and thank you. Let's have a good game. And I'll hand over to you, Nick, if you don't mind, to do some of the emails.
What are you talking about? Yeah, Lyndsay's going to play, and then if you've just tuned in, she plays a game of poker, and then at 12 o'clock, top of the hour, we will replay that game of poker, and Lyndsay will take the credit for her glorious victory, and I will analyse her play. That's pretty much how it's scripted anyway. You going to play that, Lyndsay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Let's have a look at an email, shall we? Gefa Hermouse, never could say your name, and I know that's not how it's pronounced either, is it? Thanks for emailing again. He wants to know, what is your opinion of the use of odds calculators when playing over the internet? I have the feeling that though they might help when starting out, they eventually produce a player who's dependent on them and would find it difficult to move on to live games where they can't use the software. Do you know what? The first thing I would say is, after 8 months of looking that way to read emails, having to look that way to read emails has thrown me. That's how useless I actually am. It's actually true. Odds calculators, yeah. I think you're probably right. I think that if you start off using them when you don't know the odds, it's probably not a good idea. Clearly, there is a mathematical side to poker. That mathematical side is unavoidable, I'm afraid. There are 52 cards, and there's 52 cards every hand of poker that's ever played, so that's kind of a fixed parameter, which means that there's a mathematical dimension to the game, because everything that happens could be expressed as a probability equation, because there's a chance of the 7 of hearts coming out next at any stage, for example. Now, don't let that scare you if you're new to the game. David Slansky, the kind of foremost writer about poker, has said that you do not need to be a maths whiz or even particularly competent at maths to do well at poker. But you do need to have an awareness of the maths in the game. Now, that can be learned. What Gefahmouse is referring to are mathematical little bits of software that you can use when you're playing internet poker that will tell you the odds of a certain hand, which will help you. But as he points out, you won't learn the maths of the game. I think probably the better way to do things is to... You can start off by learning the basic odds, because there's certain situations in poker occur again and again and again. So, for example, getting 4 cards to a flush on the flop. So you've got 2 hearts in your hand, there are 2 hearts on the board, you need 1 more to make that all-elusive flush. The chances of that happening will always be the same, and that will come up again and again, so you can learn that. So you can learn the basics, and if you go to any poker site, if you type in Hold'em outs, then that will give you a table with the regularly occurring phenomena in a Hold'em, and you can learn that, and that's a good start point. What you really need to do, though, is learn the underpinning maths of the game. And a lot of that comes through experience. What I'd recommend doing, actually, is, which I recommend to anyone that wants to improve their game, make a note of the key hands in the session. Don't worry too much about doing this during you play. When you play, focus on playing. But in any session of poker, whether it's a tournament or whether it's a session of a cash game, there will be 3 or 4 key hands that decide whether you did well or badly in that session. And you should be able to, well, in fact, I think everyone can pretty much recall them after the session's over. So as soon as it's over, make a note of them and then analyse them. And that's where you use your poker odds calculators. And you can work out if you're right or if you're wrong mathematically. And by doing that, by actually putting hands through an odds calculator, your awareness of that maths will just grow. And I think that's how I'd do it if I had my time again. How I actually did it, I can't remember. You still in?
Yes, don't sound so surprised. And I'm
not
not first out, which is a breakthrough.
Score. I think you're going to win.
Result.
I've got like a winning vibe.
I'm just about keeping double top under control.
Oh, really? Is he excitable? Not necessarily in a good way. Will Fisher's emailed in to say, you were talking about the rarity of quads. I went all in 4 times in a tournament recently. 1 time I hit trips, the other 3 times I hit quads, and still managed to finish out of the money. I don't believe you. Is that true? It's extraordinary if it is true. They should give you a little prize just for doing it, if so. And he says his name, Will Fish. The fish bit is just a wind-up, apparently, Lyndsay. It's not nice, is it?
I'm never going to live this down, am I?
Those of you not up to date with current history, Lyndsay had a traumatic time at the hands of a fish.
It wasn't traumatic. I handled it quite well, I think.
The industrial tribunal is pending, I believe. We're going to get back to a game. Lyndsay's playing online if you want to pop over and watch her while you watch us. But while she does that, we're going to look at a game. Let's have a look. And the guys have told me about 8 times what game it is, but I haven't been paying attention. It's the multi-table tournament. Of course it is. There are 37 players left in tonight's multi-table tournament, and they're spread over 4 tables, so this tournament's getting down towards the business end. This is where, contrary to popular belief, I think people think it's later on, this kind of stage of the tournament is quite often where your tournament is decided. If you can accumulate chips in the middle stages, you may be in for a good money finish. If you stand still, you actually go backwards. Very important thing to bear in mind. I think people, particularly new players, of course we're focusing on tonight, I think people do play too tight in the middle stages of a tournament. It's fine to play tight early on, but at some point you've got to try and make that chip stack grow. And somebody that's done that is, can't read his name, DHP27, who's got almost 30,000 chips, and he's the tournament leader at the moment, and he's been given aces. I always think that's unfair. It's like a Conservative government tax policy. He's already got all the chips. He doesn't need a good hand as well, does he? Give it to somebody who's struggling. Give it to Manic Miner. I remember Manic Miner. That was a brilliant computer game. Well, I never had a Spectrum. I was a BBC Micro and then Commodore 64 boy. But that's because
I had a Commodore 64.
Did you?
Yes, my first computer.
Can you remember any of the games that you used to enjoy, Lyndsay?
Lemmings.
Ah. There's a myth that lemmings commit suicide.
Really?
It's actually not true.
Pac-Man, I think we had as well.
Uh-huh.
Then I moved up to a Sega after the Commodore 64.
Because it went from computers to consoles.
Discovered the joys of Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes. Very fast hedgehog. They're not that fast in real life. The myth that lemmings kill themselves has come about through 2 places. Firstly, that they do migrate in huge numbers and many don't survive the migration. And secondly, through films made by Hollywood. It was a film made by Hollywood in which they actually showed lemmings killing themselves, but they don't kill themselves.
Really?
It's not true.
See, I always thought they jumped off cliffs.
That's what I'm saying. It's not true.
It's not true.
Manic Miner's going to go all in here.
One of the people on
sprite.
my poker game says maybe lemmings were listening to Nick commentating.
Well, that's not funny, is it?
That's terrible, isn't
No,
it?
well, they were probably migrating to get to somewhere where they could hear me commentate, because they don't commit suicide. So your joke about my commentary has backfired on you. Bad luck.
It wasn't my joke.
No, I'm not saying you, Lyndsay. I'm saying the uppity young viewer.
It was Hoik,
who quite often emails in and has just jeopardised the chances of his emails ever getting read again.
Even though it's called Harwick.
It's Hoik.
Oh, right.
Yeah, no, he's told us that. But he's not getting his emails read out again, so it's irrelevant, and we're not going to show him when he's playing on the TV table.
Right, I'm not going to look at the chat box
because
anymore.
I can't take a joke. Royal Rebel has flopped middle pair, but Manic Miner's made the big move and gone all in. It's a little bit desperate for Manic Miner, and Royal Rebel's not having any of it. He's got plenty of chips to call, he does. And we lose our relic from 80s Spectrum days. He's off to bleep somewhere else. I know he's short stacked, and I guess he felt he had to take a swing at it. But I think, well, 3 over cards, and Royal Rebel had so many chips to call him. It was unlikely to be successful. So with blinds at 150 and 300, I think you'd be wanting over 4,000 chips to be comfortable. Actually, probably a little bit more than that to be really relaxed about how your tournament was going.
The innuendo is wonderful in my game.
By wonderful, do you mean tragic?
Tragic.
Yeah.
Lyndsay, how do you play with a big pair? Come on, boys, you can do better than this.
That's kind of sad, isn't it?
Mm.
Albus Folks makes a move, and I like that move. He's only got 6 times the big blind left. He doesn't want the blinds to go through again. The key is, guys, if you're playing in one of these tournaments, you don't ever want your chip stack to get to the point where an all-in move from you is not even remotely scary to the other players. Now, Albus Folks had almost got to that point, and actually he's not making a huge move with 1800, but it is something that, apart from Deep 27, all of the other players would have to think twice about before they could call. And I think the cut-off is 5 or 6 times the big blind. I don't think you'd ever want to go below that. It's better to shove your chips in with absolutely nothing when you've got 6 times the big blind than it is to take the blinds again. That's just my opinion. I mean, there are, you know, I'm sure there are mathematical models which in circumstances that wouldn't be true, but my point is that you want to give yourself that first in equity, that fold equity. And what I mean by that is the chance that the other players will all throw their cards away. And when you get below 5 times the big blind in a tournament, it's very, very rare that you can make an all-in move and nobody will call, because there'll be big stacks and because they will see a chance to knock a player out. How's it going, Linz?
Okay.
You having fun?
Yes.
Sorry about the people in the chat box.
I can cope, I can cope, yeah.
Where you've dealt with
I've dealt with the
that
fish.
monster from Hull, haven't you? Well, interesting decision with the 10s for E-Razor. All 3 options available to him there, pass, call and raise all in. And he chose to pass, which is actually quite unusual for a lot of players, but I think perfectly valid. The problem with 10s is, well, there's several problems in that situation. He was out of position. If he sees the flop, there's a very good chance there'll be at least 1, probably 2 overcards, so hard for him to know whether or not his hand is still good. And with PLC raising an early position, he could have a hand that would have him in trouble, so if he moves all in, he might get called by an even better hand. So I don't have a problem with him passing there. I would, a lot of times with that amount of chips this stage in the tournament, I would seriously consider moving in because I think it's a chance to make some chips. But I've got no problem with passing. I think calling is actually the weakest of the 3 options because when that flop comes down, there will be overcards. They may connect with the hand. You certainly won't know where you are, and you're going to be out of position. So no problem with what E-Razor did there. Lines are up to 2 and 400. And this sounds like an obvious point, but if you play in one of these multi-table tournaments, and E-Razor takes the chance to try and steal some blinds, good move, again, not letting his chip stack get too low, that's what we like to see. If you do play one of these multi-table tournaments, beware of the trap of thinking that you're comfortable because you've got enough chips at this blind level. Sounds like a really obvious thing to say, but the blinds keep going up. So you need to be prepared for the next blind level as well. It's a constant struggle to accumulate chips. We're going to swing by another multi-table tournament. .27 players left, still spread over 4 tables, and beautiful flop for Gubber 30. 3 6s comes down. He's decided to bet them. He's going to be praying somebody calls. But they don't, and he'll be cursing his luck. I know there's a flush draw out there, but against two opponents, I think... Well, I don't know. It's hard to see the right and wrongs in that situation. He could have taken a chance and checked. It's reasonably unlikely that flop would have helped the other two players, particularly as one of them was the big blind and an unraised pot. So I think I'd have played it a bit slower. Queens for Craven. I can feel the tension from the right.
I'm concentrating.
Yeah, no, it's impressive.
I think they're trying to distract me, see, so I'm focusing now.
You're literally in the zone.
Yeah, I'm in the zone.
You've got that game face on. King Jack for Jakers. And nice flop for him, flop's top pair. He'll probably bet and take it, I'd have thought. And round we go. It's getting to crunch time for you, Lyndsay, over there, isn't it?
Yeah, blinds are going up now.
Don't get frustrated.
I'm not.
Your
Nothing.
time will
There's
come.
nothing frustrating me.
Apart from the tedious innuendo, surely. One for Leon on the button, that white dealer button. And we're talking more to beginners at poker, or certainly less experienced players at poker tonight. You'll ignore the excited gasp to my right. It's going to happen, isn't it? Cuba limps. I wouldn't be limping to any pots at this stage of the tournament. Early on, that's fine. Now the blinds are sort of semi-serious. I think you should always be coming into pots with a raise, because the chance that you'll take the blinds without any resistance, and also the fact that you discourage players from entering the pot, means that it just has a lot more expectation for you. So I would try not to limp into any pots when you get to the middle stage of the tournament. Ace 10 for Signori Whippy. And that's good enough. And we'll be back with our multi-table tournament in a little bit. We'll keep dipping into it, and then we'll show as much of the final table as we can, I promise. I know that you'll enjoy it. We enjoy bringing it to you. It is the best poker we show, I think, on the show. Lots of emails coming in. poker@pokernightlive.co.uk is the email address. We want lots more, because we will have a chance to get through quite a lot tonight. And somebody that has emailed in is Dave. He says, hi, Lyndsay and Nick. Enjoying the show as always. I hope you guys are well. I'm well. Lyndsay's on a knife edge. Literally, aren't you?
I'm fine.
She's
very
fine.
Focused.
Very, see, changed the whole aura. Actually quite intimidated. 2 questions Dave's got. Firstly, I've been playing for 6 months, and I really should know what is in position. I thought it was the first one to act, but it appears it's the last one to act. Am I right? Also, the experts seem to suggest there's an advantage to acting last. Okay, position is probably the most important element in the game of Hold'em, and it's massively underestimated by beginning players and players that start out. And I think that's for 2 reasons. First of all, when you start out, the cards really capture your attention. It's the cards that are your focus, figuring out what your hand is, what other players' hands might be. That's what you're trying to figure out. And the second reason is that when people teach Hold'em in the books and DVDs that are out there, And even, you know, when somebody teaches you the game, they teach you the cards, they don't teach you the other factors. But actually in the play of the game, the thing that decides where the money goes over the long term is position, because it is a fixed position game. And what I mean by that is the dealer button decides who's going to be last to act in every round, and it stays the same for that hand. In other poker games, like stud, for example, whoever has the best hand showing acts first, and that could change every round. So Hold'em's a fixed position game. The reason this is important, Dave, is exactly as you suggested in your email. It's an advantage to go last. It's an advantage to go last because information is power in Hold'em, and the more you have of it, actually in all poker, the easier it is to play. The reason for that is if we knew what our opponent's cards were, it would be a very easy game, right? So the more information you have that gives you clues as to what an opponent's cards might be, the better. So when you're in last position, you've seen how everybody else has acted, and then you can make your judgment. Whereas if you're in early position or out of position, you're betting in the dark. So you're right, by the way, in position means acting behind somebody else. If you've got position on someone, you're acting after them. So it's a massive advantage. My favourite quote about position at the moment is one from Doyle Brunson, one of the legendary names in poker. And he says that if you gave him the button every hand, so if he was last to act every single hand, he could play without looking at his cards and beat almost any game. And he's not saying that to boast, well maybe he is, I don't know. He's actually saying that just to illustrate just how important position is. So it's something you need to get a handle on and use it in your game. It means that you should play very few hands from early position and a lot more hands from later position. In fact, if you're on the button and there's been no raise, you can play almost any hand, I think, especially in no-limit poker. So something to think about, and definitely something to get a hold of if you want to improve. Dave's second question is that he plays $2 or $5 six-seater sit and goes, being fast and furious. So we show 8-seater sit and goes on this table, exactly the same kind of deal. 2 less people. You probably figured that out on your own, didn't you? It's just that I just figured it out. I'm making a modest profit. One recent development is highly aggressive players putting in massive raises hand after hand, sometimes as much as 10 times the big blind. My instinct is to fold, but these players can't have aces every time. I often wait till I get my monster and double up. Sometimes I re-raise and fold, but they're still coming back. Any further tips? Well, the first thing to say is it's hard to play against somebody that's raising big raises all the time. I've already spoken tonight about how important aggression is in Hold'em. And if you meet a player that's being hyper-aggressive, it's very difficult to play against. And the reason it's difficult to play against is he puts you out of options. If he's putting a massive bet, it leaves you very little room for manoeuvre. And if he's always raising all the time, it means that you can't make judgments about your hand. You don't get to see the flop. So you either have to pick your 2 cards and go for it, or throw them away and potentially get bullied. Basically, you've got 2 options, and it depends on how big the bet is. If you're playing against a maniac, as we call them, a hyper-aggressive player, and they're raising every hand, you should actually call more. And the reason for this is, of course, you're right, they can't have aces every time. So you're calling A, to see the flop and hit something to beat them, and B, when you've probably got a better hand than them, so you're playing really good cards. But you can only employ that strategy if there's a lot of chips in play. So if you've got a big stack of chips and the blinds are small, then you can call and see flops and basically hammer them when you have a real hand. I suspect that's not the case in your tournaments because they're 6-seater sit and go, so they're fast. So in that case, you're restricted to standing up to them, basically. If you've got enough chips where they might put a hand down, then you can come over the top for all your chips. If not, you're basically being put decision to your whole tournament, so you just have to wait and play tight. It's a big advantage to pick a hand where you've got a pair, because unless they've got a pair, which is unlikely if they're raising all the time, you're going to be a decent favourite. So a middle pair may be what you have to take your stand with. But yeah, stand up to them eventually, but as I said, it's very hard to play against, and it shows you the value of aggression. And I don't play in these fast and furious 6-seaters myself, but I imagine that actually, if they're playing very aggressive all the time, they're probably not too far away from a really winning strategy. That's how powerful aggression is. But good luck, Dave. How are you doing, Lindsay?
Fine.
Fine, massive hysterical giggle.
I'm doing all right.
You're doing all right?
Yes.
Well, we'll see soon.
I've got a feeling we're going to have a really interesting debate about bad beats a bit later on.
But I don't like bad beat stories.
Do you not?
No. Well, they're boring.
I was robbed.
Here we go. I tell you.
Hence the reason I'm playing another one.
Right, well, I have to do a job of work. You're just messing about playing cards.
There's a reason for it.
Is there?
We're all going to benefit after midnight tonight.
Best offer I've had
Honest.
in a month. After midnight tonight, we're going to look at what Lyndsay's doing now in replay.
Yes.
And analyse it.
It's very interesting.
Is it very interesting? Are you happy
Yeah.
with the way you've played, Lyndsay?
Right, well, how about... No. I'll not tell you. I'll save it for later.
Don't say no.
I'll save it for later. Let's just say it's the worst beat I've ever experienced.
You actually look angry.
I am.
Okay.
Livid. Absolutely livid.
If you'd like to get in touch with the show, text or email. We'd like lots of text and emails, guys. We've got plenty of time left in the show, haven't we?
Be kind.
Be kind to Lyndsay.
Please.
Offer words of condolence. And any questions you have, there's the new text number for regular viewers, 84222. I've just about learnt it, quite proud of myself.
Well done.
Thank you. Or email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. It is a beginner's night, so if you've got any question, no matter how basic it is, even if you've just got in touch with poker, maybe you've just played your first game or you're just about to, we'd like to hear from you. And of course, we'd like to hear from our regulars and experienced players as well. Lyndsay's still playing, again. And so we're going to go to another game. This is a cash game, guys. First cash game of the night. Let's have a look. Here we go. A 25-cent, 50-cent cash game. And it's called a 25-cent, 50-cent cash game because those are the level of the blinds. And unlike the tournaments we have been watching, they are unchanging for time immemorial. As long as this game exists, the blinds will be 25 cent and 50 cent. So they don't escalate like a tournament, and that has an effect on the way you play, as we'll talk about later on. It also dictates the level of the game, and in this game the players can buy in for $50 maximum. And I presume the minimum is $5. So anyone over $50 has made a profit on their buy-in. They could, of course, have lost a few buy-ins first. That's perfectly possible. Or if it's their first buy-in, they could be having a good night, as it looks like Craven is. The other key difference, apart from the non-escalation of the blinds, is that you can rebuy whenever you like, not during a hand. That would be cheating, but in between hands. So unlike a tournament, in a tournament when your chips are gone, you're gone. In a cash game, you can blow yourself out of chips as many times as you like. Now, because the... what are you looking at?
I'm not.
You're winning.
No, I'm not.
Well, you are. I can see. It's good. Go, Lyndsay.
It's very early stages, very early stages. Don't count your chickens.
Assidious will be counting his chickens. He's got a full house, kings and threes. And he'll be desperately hoping that Name Exists has either got a hand or wants to bluff. Well, I'm not sure what he's thinking about. He doesn't have very much, and Assidious will win this one. Nice sized pot for the game. And this statistics page, I temporarily lost the ability to talk, I do apologise, shows you how the guys have been playing in this game. This shows you their style of play, really. It's how they play before the flop with their first two cards, how often they raise, how often they call. If you want to know how much they're playing, add up those two numbers, and the rest of the time they're throwing their hand away. So as we can see, the more aggressive players in the game have been Smooth Cut, Bill Wheel and Craven, raising 10% of the time. And playing about 20% of hands, Craven and Smooth Cut. Probably about right, I'd suggest, for an 8-handed game. Bill Wheel playing an awful lot of hands, over 30%. That's normally would be too many unless you're an expert player. Another big hand for Assidious, 3 5s. He's hot right now, oh yeah. That's right, Lyndsay.
I'll just provide sound effects if you want.
That was a good one. That was the sound that something cold makes when it goes on to something hot.
That's right.
Yes. It's not one of those phone-ins on the radio where they play a sound and then
What's that noise?
Muppets ring in and
I
go,
used to play that
it's
on
my hat,
radio
it's
show.
a car, it's
Yeah.
my face, it's 1876.
Do you know what, we used to play that on the radio, and everyone used to phone up and go, it's a stapler. And that was the most popular one, followed closely by a hole punch. And by the end of doing the whole thing, you're like, it's not a stapler. It's not a hole punch. And it was usually something impossible, like a USB cable being put into a USB port on a computer, which no one would ever get.
I mean, when you talk about it in isolation, it sounds like the worst idea in entertainment history, doesn't it? It
Yes.
just sounds rubbish, and actually it is rubbish, but loads of radio shows have it, or,
Do you know-
or a version of it,
do you know
don't
why?
they? Why?
Because people will
People want to
play
play.
it. And do you know what the other thing is?
Yeah.
They'll also play it using a premium rate number. Woohoo.
Don't blow the gap. That's going to bankrupt radio stations, you saying that?
Oh, we had complaints letters, people telling us their phone had been cut off because they'd been playing What's That Noise? It's like, well, what do you want us to do about it? It's terrible.
My favourite ever edition of Watchdog, and that is saying something, was when a woman was complaining about BT, and there were these 2 or 3 women, absolutely true, and Watchdog had taken up this case.
Yeah.
Because they've been billed hundreds of pounds for calls to certain premium rate numbers.
Right.
You can imagine which
Yes.
ones. That all are based in Trinidad or somewhere like that.
Right.
And this woman, I swear, she was looking into camera and saying, and I've confronted my husband about this, and he assures me that he's not made the calls. And many of the times when the calls were made, we would have both been in bed anyway.
And everyone's watching going, mug.
Going, oh, for goodness sake. But Watchdog were chasing us many years ago.
I love Watchdog.
Do you? I hate Watchdog.
Do you?
It's just a programme for busybodies.
Maybe that's why I like
Maybe.
it.
Busybodies and people who just can't look after their own stuff.
Yeah.
And I bought it and it was
Yeah.
rubbish. You bought it?
Yeah. It was a very sorry one last night about pensioners who'd been duped into putting their little nest egg for their pension into some profit-making investment.
Oh, God.
Which, of course, turned out to be non-profit-making.
What a shock. Well, in this hand, we'd have had fun and games if a heart had come, because we'd have had 3 flushes. But as it is, Cat Attack's having fun and games with a full house, 7s and 8s. God love it. I don't think Snappit will be calling this. Snappit's one of our regular players and has a pretty conservative game and makes the right decision there. Well played. Not a great bunch of cards this time round. See if anyone wants to try and nick the blinds. They don't want to. And interesting, because a Jack would give Assidious a straight. Cat Attack currently has top 2 pair. Now, is he going to slow play, or is he just going to call? He just calls. Now, the flush card has come, but Cat Attack shouldn't worry too much about that. And we do see players do this. This is a tip for all of you. If you're heads up, the flush draw and the flush have a lot less power, and you shouldn't be anything like as worried about them. And Cat Attack slowed down. He didn't need to there. Because, just statistically, the chances of your opponent having 2 cards of that suit are pretty slim. If you're in a multi-way pot, obviously, much more to worry about. Or if the betting pattern has suggested that he's on the flush draw, much more to worry about. But if you're heads up like that, particularly in the blinds, you shouldn't worry about it until you've got a real reason to. Craven has the kings. Makes quite a big raise, actually, 5 times the big blind. Don't think he'll get any customers. Jacks for Snap It. And you're watching Poker Night Live. You're listening to me, Nick Wealthall. I'm here with Lyndsay. And we'll be with you until 2 o'clock in the morning bringing you poker. And what that means is you've got lots of time to get your texts and emails in and get them dealt with on live telly.
That's right.
Lyndsay,
we want
can you imagine
lots
that?
more questions, don't we?
Yes, and amusing stories to get us through till 2. I'm not going to lie to you, I'm a little bit sleepy tonight.
Yeah.
So I do need
You need entertaining, don't
entertaining
you?
by our glorious viewers. Couldn't be easier, guys. 84222 if you want to text something in.
I've got one for
If you
you.
want to email, it's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. You've got one for us.
Have I told you the
Well, can
story
you
about the
email in,
devilfish?
Oh, dear. Can you not rake over old muck, please?
I won't.
One for Craven, and I'm not going to lie to you guys, I've taken my life in my hands by putting my coffee mug on the chair between my legs.
Have you?
So if something dramatic,
Yes, as well.
something dramatic happens during this next segment, you'll know why.
What if I just push you now?
Why are you joking? This is hot liquids, Lyndsay. It could cause burning in a place that will annoy me and my future wife, who hasn't been born yet. An email from Stamper in Los Angeles. Great show as always. He's in Los Angeles. We are so global and so Hollywood. We are available on the web. We don't point you this way very often, but if you're away from home and you can't watch satellite, you can get us by going to the Poker Night Live website and get a web stream there, as Stamper obviously is doing. I don't remember anyone asking about seat selection, so I thought I would. One of the poker guides suggests that you should try and find seats to the left of tight players and to the right of loose players. That way you can push the tight guy off his hand, but you're less likely to get trapped by the loose players re-raising. What do you think? Well, Mike Carrow says, and of course he's absolutely right, that poker start that again. In poker, money comes from your right. If you put an overhead camera on the table and filmed it for hours and then did time-lapse photography on the chips, it should be quite fun actually. You can make quite a nice arty piece. It's an idea. You'd actually see the chips moving in a clockwise direction because the structure of the game dictates that. You'd see the odd anomaly, of course, but basically money comes from your right. So you want weaker players to your right, in my view. Now that could be looser players, it could be players that are too tight, but ideally weaker players to your right. Personally, to my left, in terms of the blinds, I want people who I can take their blinds a lot and who won't re-raise me when I steal their blinds. I want passive players to my immediate left. Also, in my opinion, if there's a maniac at the table, there's lots written about where you want to sit if there's a maniac at the table. In my opinion, and by maniac, by the way, I mean somebody that's just raising a lot, raising maybe every hand. In my opinion, I've got a slightly different perspective, which Casper and I worked out when we were playing together in Vegas. Our view is that you want the maniac as far away from you as possible. Different people say have him seated to the right so that you know what he's going to do, or have him seated to the left so that he acts after you. But personally, I would like him as far away from me as possible, and the reason for that is you're not going to be involved in as many hands as him, because he's going to get more involved when he's got the blinds or when he's in late position. So it's just my personal view. Actually, I'd rather have him on another table, so I'd probably change tables. But yeah, seat selection is an interesting one, Stamper. I don't think it's quite as important as people sometimes make out. You shouldn't worry about it too much. I think the tip is, particularly online, if you've got a seat that you're not happy with, obviously it doesn't apply to tournaments, you're stuck with it, but if you've got a seat you're not happy with, just change games, because there's so much game choice online. If somebody to your right is constantly raising your blinds or something like that, just find another game. But as it is, yeah, I would rather have passive where I can take their blinds, I think, and bad players to my right. I don't care if they're too loose or they're too tight, I just don't want them to play well. But yeah, you will get different opinions on this, actually. That's an email from Stamper. I'm going to sneak in another one cheekily. It's a quick one. Text from Ben. I've just started playing and struggling with hands like Queen 10 and King 9. Should I be limping in, seeing a flop, or waiting for better hands? Ben, it's C. Waiting for better hands out of those options. Queen 10 and King 9, trappy hands for beginners because they look pretty. They look better than they actually are. They're two sort of high cards, but actually they don't have very much value. Neither of those hands have much value. You'd actually rather have a hand like 6, 7 suited because of the chances of making flushes and straights, and also the chance that other players will play high cards. The problem with hands like Queen 10 and King 9 is that if you think about the types of hands people play pairs, they play ace high, they play two very big cards, bigger cards than those. A lot of cards people play will have those two hands in trouble, and you get into a lot of situations. Take King 9, for example. If you flop a pair of kings, you'll end up losing a lot of pots to players who have played King Queen, Ace King, King Jack, and have you out kicked.
Don't talk to me about King Queen.
Lyndsay, you seem to be getting emotional about this.
I'm a disgrace.
I see you're no longer playing poker.
No.
Oh, that's not good, is it?
No.
I'm going to have to put her back together.
Just to wrap up, I'm a disgrace.
Can I just wrap up Dave's email, and then we'll indulge in your grief.
Okay.
On the Queen 10 and the King 9, the only time you want to play those hands is if you get a free play in the blind, something like that, or if you're in late position and you want to raise to try and nick the blinds. But basically, Ben, they're not great hands, Ben, and throw them away without second thought most of the time, and you'll find your results improve. So anyway, you're a loser.
I'm a loser.
You're a two-time loser.
A loser in life, a loser in poker.
No, Lyndsay, you're a winner in life.
Very sad.
And you're amongst friends as well.
People are being kind to me now, saying, not at all, Lyndsay, you played poker well.
Now they've got your chips.
Now they've got my chip. It's up to you to decide whether I played well or not.
Well, what do you think? Because remember,
I think on
poker,
both occasions...
we don't play results, Linz.
On both occasions, I was very, very unfortunate, especially the first game I played in, bearing in mind I had a pair of kings and I ended up getting knocked out by trip two.
What are you doing? You just told everyone.
Might have been a bluff.
Oh.
How do you know?
How are we going to get them to watch now?
I might have been bluffing.
Sometimes it's even better when you know what you're going to get for Christmas, isn't it?
It is.
So stay tuned. At 12 o'clock, we're going to look at both Lyndsay's games.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, thing is, for you to remember, and all of you guys watching to remember, we don't play results in poker. We shouldn't do in life either, actually, but
No.
we do in life, and it's a fault of the human race. All you can do in life and in poker is do everything you can to win, and then let the statistical chance, not luck, statistical chance fall as it may. And sometimes it'll fall your way and sometimes it won't. The question is, did you make the right decisions? That's the question.
I don't think I made the wrong decision, actually, but I think that's why it's hurting so badly. I think if I'd cocked it up and it was my own fault, I could take it. But the fact it was just so unfortunate, it's hard to bear. How are you going to get me through it? I don't know if I can go on.
Probably not even going to try.
I can't wait.
Right.
I can't wait to see
It'll be cathartic, Lynn. You'll watch it and...
I'm looking forward to see what you say about it, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
Crikey. Pressure's on.
Pressure's on you now.
I'll be nice.
Okay.
Let's get back to a game, guys, because we've got a little while before the next break.
It's MTT, I think, is it?
Ooh.
The green one.
Le Jeu Vert. Which means the green game. It probably doesn't. I'm out on a limb with English, let alone anything else. So, getting towards the business end of our multi-table tournament, Golf Mad Chef makes a move.
Let's see if these boys are luckier than me.
Are you going to be like this for the rest of the night? Are you?
I'm a bad loser.
Well, no one likes a Mona, Linz. Come on. Hey? Where's that?
When I was a kid,
Where's that
my
little
mum used to
sparkly
say, it's not
smile?
the winning, Lyndsay, it's the taking part. Oh, shut up, Mum, don't talk rubbish. It's all about winning.
I don't know.
I'm a really bad loser. I don't like to lose.
I mean, I am learning that live as we speak. Would you like a little bit of Milky Bar?
Yeah, that would make me feel so much better.
Nice hand.
Oh, you've always got the answer.
I've always got the answer, and it's always the same answer.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. Sorry, I'm sorry if you can hear that, viewers, and I'm sorry if it's driving you a bit mad. Why don't go out and get yourself some chocolate?
Thank you.
Get us through the next couple of hours together. What day does it say, Linz?
Thursday.
Thursday. No. So there's no excuse to go to bed?
No.
Because it's Friday tomorrow.
It's the weekend.
And Friday isn't Friday unless you do it on 4 hours sleep, is it, at work? So I know they'll be with us till 2. We've got a couple of big stacks here. Sandra, a lady name.
A lady.
I wonder if it's a lady player. Get in touch, Sandra, poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. There are some people who are men who have ladies' names on the internet. On poker sites I'm talking about, not.
Are they metrosexuals, that you, Nick?
Right. I still think it's dodgy. I don't want to be one.
Okay.
I think it's a bit too feminine, isn't it?
There are men with women's name in real life.
Are there?
My dad works with someone called Lyndsay, who's a man.
Embarrassing.
Spelt differently.
That was a boy's name back in the 30s or something, wasn't it? Golf mad chef needs to win. He's gonna. Look at that.
Ooh.
Will Sandra try and nick these blinds? Well, it's a good flop for Golf Mad Chef. Aggressive bet by Captain Nappy. Sorry, Lindsay, I'm eating.
It's okay.
Floor part of live TV.
I feel better now.
Do you? Because you had a little bit of chocolate.
It's medicinal Milky Bar.
I think you want to explore your relationship between food and emotion.
I didn't know what you were going to say then. I thought you were going to say with the Milky Bar kid. I was going to say...
What an interesting mind you have.
I prefer the more mature man.
Well, he probably is now, isn't he? He's probably about 35.
Yeah, but can you imagine? I think now that the Milky Bar kid must look like Curly Wads.
Do you think he goes into bars and uses it as a line?
I hope
Do you
not.
know who I am? I'm a
I
Milky
used
Bar
to be
kid.
the Milky Bar kid.
Do you want to see my churned milk chocolate?
Because
I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
the Sun Pat kid ended up being in EastEnders.
Really? Who's that? Peggy
Joe
Butcher?
Absalom, not Absalom.
Never heard of him.
He was
Don't watch
Sun
soaps.
Pat, Fun Pat. That was Sun Pat.
Oh. Interesting learning, Lindsay. Thank you for the edification. I hope he's watching.
You never know.
We were once taking the mickey out of Isla Sinclair,
I heard this story.
and we got an email from Isla Sinclair.
But you weren't sure if it was the real one.
It was really weird because it came from her website. So either it was Isla Sinclair or someone that knows her,
Yeah.
or it was one of our naughty viewers who's very, very good with computers and could hack into her email account. But it didn't come from like a generic account. It came from Isla Sinclair's website account.
Interesting. So Will's been in touch. She says, yes, Nick, it is true about my quads. In the words of the great Shanks, the only thing that surprises me at this game is that people still get surprised. And he signed off, Phyllis of Will.
That's
Wait,
your fish
will
thing.
you stop with the fish references now, please?
Will's clearly a Liverpool fan, so he's all right by me, and anything he says is brilliant. Well done, Will.
Is this the great Shanks?
It's Bill Shankly,
Oh, right.
father of the modern game. He
Really?
built Liverpool Football
No, that's
Club
Bobby
into
Robson.
Who?
Bobby Robson. My hero.
Yes.
We don't need any more fish references tonight.
I can't get into a football debate with you because it's like mockingly afflicted, isn't it?
Oh!
Well, it is.
Just
It's out of order. You can't hurt people when they're down.
Don't mention Charlton.
Okay. Or any of the other
It's a story of
45
my
teams
life,
who-
isn't it? Right, well, we're going to watch some poker news, we're going to take a short break, and then when we come back, we're going to get some more of your texts and emails, and also we're going to watch both of my Beat the Presenter games,
with analysis.
both of them with Nick's analysis, so stick around, you really, really do not want to miss my games, because you're going to learn a lot. Welcome back to Poker Night Live. I'm Lindsay, joined by Nick tonight. We're here till 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Been watching some good poker so far. I played in our...
So far. Here's where it changes.
Yeah, here's where it goes downhill. It was my turn to play in the Beat the Presenter game tonight, only I did so badly I had to play in 2. So we're going to watch those games back pretty soon. Nick's going to analyse my play, and we're going to hopefully learn from my diabolical mistakes.
Or from the mistakes of those that were playing against you.
Absolutely.
Who knows?
Absolutely. As always, we're live and fully interactive, so please do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear from you. It's amateur night tonight, so we want all your questions sent through to the studio. You can text us. here in the studio, just put the word poker at the front of your message and send it through to 84222. 84222, or if you prefer, you can email. There's the address on your screen. It's poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. Now, you mentioned a bit of entertainment you wanted, Nick, before the break, didn't you?
Always.
You wanted
Always
entertainment.
entertainment.
Well, Hoik has sent an email.
Who?
Hoik.
Right, well, I thought that we banned that
Well,
man.
he says he's just testing the water to see if you really have banned his emails.
Yes, well, I thought we had.
And he says, sorry about the Lemmings joke. I was just getting my own back after you took my game apart the other night.
Yes, because you were rubbish.
He says, would
With
it help?
good reason.
Would it help to say I revere every drop of poker magic that emanates from your mouth?
Yes, it would. Yes. Well said.
Anyway, he says, I've come up with a great new theory. For my less than adequate play, I'm giving the whole Poker Night Live audience the impression that I can't play, thus lulling them into a false sense of security. Later on, I'll up my game and win big. Okay, so maybe not, but it's a nice excuse.
He's being very harsh on himself
He
because
is.
we analysed a couple of his decisions in the multi-table tournament when I was last on, and we didn't feel that he'd played as well as he could in those hands. But that doesn't mean that you're rubbish, especially not after that last brilliant thing you said about...
Yeah.
That was good.
You like flattery.
Yeah.
Flattery.
Well, also, I tell you what, as well, I do genuinely, I respect anyone that plays on the TV, honestly, because we can see that we can see everybody's cards, as you know, and it takes a bit of courage to play where A, people can see your cards, and B, you know that we in the studio might comment on what you do. So,
Yeah.
I'm sure he's taking it in the right way.
Anyway, he says, seeing how you're a bit short on poker jokes, he sent a couple in.
Brilliant. I didn't know there were any.
He says, a man walks into a butcher's shop and inquires of the butcher, are you a gambling man? The butcher says, yes. So the man says, well, I bet you 50 quid that you can't reach up and touch that meat hanging on the hooks up there. The butcher says, I'm not betting on that. He says, but I thought you were a gambling man. And the butcher says, yes, I am, but the stakes are too high. Oh, goodness.
Lean back.
Do you want more?
What?
Do you want more?
Does it get better?
What's the difference between prayer in a church and prayer in a casino? In a casino, you really mean it.
Oh, no, that's true, isn't it?
And one more for luck. A guy looking for a poker game strolls into one of his favourite poker rooms and stumbles upon 3 men and 1 dog playing poker. Not believing his eyes, he observes the game for a while. Amazingly, the dog seems to be winning quite a bit. He walks over and comments that the dog must be a pretty good player to keep winning so many hands, to which one of the players says, he really isn't that good. Every time he gets a good hand, he wags his tail.
That's quite good. Did James Broughton send this email in? Because
It's Dave in Edinburgh.
it's not James Broughton. I always do that. James Browning. Matt Broughton. Thank you, Dave. Good try with the jokes.
Did you like them? I quite liked them,
They were
actually.
all right, yeah.
But
Yeah, they were all right.
I'm easily pleased.
Which is good.
They're a bit tame for me.
Yes. Well, we are a family show,
We
Lyndsay.
are,
We're not.
absolutely. But thank you for getting into
They
it.
are
Dave.
some of the better poker jokes. There are no brilliant poker jokes, I don't think.
Write some. There's
Tried.
a niche in
I've
the market.
literally tried. I've had to try on occasion. It's very difficult. Poker's no fun. It's very...
Right, we're going to head over to the MTT before we hurt my feelings anymore by watching my game. Let's have a look and see how they're getting on at the multi-table tournament.
Well, I hope we're going to watch your game soon because I just want you to get out of the way and then you can relax.
It's going to stay with me for a long time. This is the final table, apparently, of our MTT. So it's going to get very exciting. The blind 600, 1200. And look, Senor Whippy's still there.
Your favourite?
Yeah, as is Sandra.
Sandra, are you a woman or are you pretending to be a woman like some kind of bizarre ladyboy on the internet?
Pot and Pan there, the top corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pot and pan. And it's a competitive tournament, isn't it? Because there's a bit of variation in stack size, but not as big as we sometimes see. Obviously, Deep 27 is the chip leader, but the test is always how easily could he be damaged? Well, if if you got involved in a big hand with Goober or Senior Whippy or Kiwini, he would be back amongst the pack. So it's obviously anyone's tournament. The blinds are 600 to 1200, and to be comfortable at those blinds, you'd be looking for sort of 15,000 chips, something of that order. So there's plenty of play.
Yeah, just got Craven there, who is going to be looking to make a move. Maybe this is the hand. No, it's waiting for something better.
Yeah, tough situation when you get down to that sort of level, because, like you say, he's got to make a move at some point.
Yeah.
Joe, just reflecting on those jokes, they are better than most of the jokes that people like me and James do on the show all the time.
I like the one about the dog.
Yes, that's clever. Well, ace is in the blinds, and they both hit their kicker, so we might get some action.
Goop has gone all in. That's enough to push Whippy off it.
Get rid of Whippy. Yeah, a good example of how important aggression is. That. I mean, that was obviously extremely aggressive. Didn't have to bet all his chips. Quite an extreme move. But if you're going to go for it and hold them, then really go for it, I guess. And enough to win the hand. Pot and pan, committing all his chips with ace king, never a bad idea. Oh, he's been horribly unlucky. Oh. He's been very unlucky. He's about a 75% favourite in that situation. But he's gone out. We're down to 6 players.
So we're going to watch this hand play out, and then we'll come back to the final table a bit later on, so you won't miss any of the action. But we need to analyse the Beat the Presenter game.
Yes.
And find out where we went wrong.
We?
The royal we.
Oh.
So we'll leave that multi-table tournament there, but we will get back to it. It's frozen still.
And it's worth sticking around for, guys, because the final of the multi-table tournament is a great way to learn. If you want to play poker tournaments, you can get a better place to improve your game.
It's always exciting.
Always exciting.
Fast-paced, and we see some
good bluffs and that kind of thing.
Good bluffs, yeah. And a good heads-up normally as well.
Yes.
Which is always a good skill to learn. I haven't quite needed it yet in my single table tournaments, as you're about to find out when we look at our Beat the Presenter game.
Who thinks Lyndsay did really well in these games, given the subtle clues that she's been giving out? Honestly, you look like a broken woman, Linds.
I don't like to lose.
But it's not losing. It's...
Maybe poker's just not for me.
Oh. How many games have you played? Like 5?
No. What, on TV?
Yeah.
4.
4. Well, that's not a basis for a decision like that, is it? Most of us lose night after night, and we still think poker's the game for us.
But it's not fair, because I can get in the money when I'm at home.
Poker's not fair. No, it's not fair.
Should we have a look?
Let's have a look.
See how I really got on. Let's find out.
You must remember, all we're interested in analysing is the quality of your decisions.
Oh, look, there I am at the bottom.
I can hear a bleeping noise. I don't know if our viewers can hear that. Somebody's reversing a massive truck into the studio.
I've set the fire alarm off with the smoke coming from my cards.
You got to set it off so that we don't have to watch.
You sus me. Oh, right, it'll be interesting to see what other people had as well. Now I can...
Yeah.
When I've made some folds, it'll be interesting to see whether they really had a better hand than me.
Have you played with any of these people before?
The double top I have before, and Dark Star as well. The double top has some very colourful conversation in the chat box every time I play him.
Is he out of order? Do you want to see him banned?
No, it's all good fun.
Okay.
He just keeps trying to wangle a date if he wins.
You should give him one. 7th of November, 1976.
I'll tell you what, it's a better deal. I'll give him one if I ever win one. He'll be waiting a long time.
Oh, Lyndsay, don't say that. He's literally taping the show. He'll take you to the small claims court and say this is legally binding.
I have to win one first.
Yeah. I can't wait until your head's up and you're deliberately trying to lose so you don't have to...
Right.
Charwell putting in the standard raise with his queens, following Chuckle's minimum raise. Well, Chuckle's called, which is optimistic, and that wheat bet is not going to do anything
it's a little
for
baby,
him.
isn't it? It's not going to help, is it? It's not enough to show any strength.
No, and Charwell dismisses it.
I don't really
from
think
his presence.
I should be making comments though, actually. You know.
Well, you're doing all right.
Maybe I'm not in a place to say things like that.
Yeah, James Browning and I were discussing those little minimum bets that people sometimes make, and I think 9 times out of 10, probably literally about 9 times out of 10, they're exactly what they look like,
Just
which is
pointless,
weakness.
yeah.
And you should usually raise them.
It's people just wanting to see another card very cheaply.
It's exactly that, yes, Lyndsay. Every once in a while there'll be a really strong hand, but that's probably less than once in 10. So bad spot for Skinner. Nice flop for the aces.
Just to check.
Now, if Skinner had bet there, Charwell could almost have, in fact, probably be a good play for Charwell to call almost as a slow play.
Yeah.
Because when you slow play, one of the things you have to consider, and by slow play, obviously, I mean play a strong hand slowly. What you have to consider is, what are the chances of the card coming next hurting your hand? Well, on a flop of 9-4-4, if you've got the aces, it's hard to think of a card that could come that could overtake you.
Yeah.
In order for that to happen, the other guy would have to have a pocket pair and he'd have to hit his pocket pair, which is quite unlikely. Unless you're already beaten. If he happens to have a 4 or 2 9s in his hand, good luck to him, he's beaten you anyway.
Yeah.
But sometimes there are little slow plays that you can do like that, when, as I say, the key test is, will the next card hurt you? How likely is it to hurt you? Often in Hold'em, you are not in a strong enough position to know whether the next card will hurt you or not, which is why you should normally bet if you have a good hand, and you should only very, very rarely slow play or trap.
Yeah.
And we see beginning players and intermediate players actually try and be much too clever and much too cute with their good hands.
Yeah.
And actually you should just get your money in. I'd like to hear from you if you were involved in this game with Lyndsay.
Yes. Please do get in touch with us. You can text us. Just put the word poker on your message and send it to 84222, 84222, or email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. We'd like to hear your thoughts on the games.
What's happened here, Lyndsay? I'm all excited with the
I've
A7.
got excited, yeah.
Well, you've run into queens, I'm afraid. Do you need me to tell you that A7 isn't
No.
good enough to get that excited about?
No, I don't.
It's pressure of the moment.
I just had so much rubbish up to that point.
Yeah, it can be frustrating, poker, if you don't hit hands that you'd have won. Does that help?
No. Makes it even worse now, looking at it back.
Dark Star couldn't get away from the jacks, and that's understandable, although I'm sure he'll be cross he went broke in the early stages.
I can't believe I didn't call it now.
If you call
I
bets
know,
that big,
in the long run. it was better to put it down, although I shouldn't have really raised in the first place with it, should I? I thought, well, if I'm going to play it, I might as well raise.
So I don't know why I'm eating. I've got some sort of disorder tonight. Yeah, I mean, that much is true. If you were going to play it, then you should raise rather than call. But at the same time, it's not really a hand you want to play.
Right. Unless your head's up.
Yeah, or maybe three-handed. But if you play a lot of poker, you'll quickly start to hate aces with anything less than a queen, really.
Yeah.
Because people will play their aces, and if you've got a 7 as your side card...
And being proactive again, look. Putting the raise there.
Well, that is a good bet. I like that bet a lot. Kudos, Ms. Horne.
Well, I didn't really see any dangers on the flop there. Obviously the 9 was there, but...
No, it's a very good flop for a pair of 8s, and... oh, wow, that's a good bet.
So far, so good.
Wow,
Except
50,
the A7.
Well, we're breaking even, aren't we?
Yeah, except the A7.
But what I like so far is that when you've played, you've been aggressive.
Yeah.
That's good. That is good, because that's usually the thing that takes a while for people to get. But yeah, that was a good bet with the 8s, I think. Well, it looks like we'll have some action in the blinds here. Ace-Queen versus Ace-10. Well...
Not helped any of them.
No, they've both missed. Name exists was the pre-flop raiser, but double top's got position, so... And here is the advantage of position. Double top can now bet with a lot of confidence. Because name exists raised before the flop, and then he doesn't want to bet the flop. Well, what does that say to you?
Yeah.
It says he's missed the flop. And I think double top slightly wimped there, because he bet 60, and if he bet a bit more, he might well have taken it there and then. I suppose the thing is that with all those low cards, name exists probably doesn't believe that it's helped double top either. And now it's a split. Remember we said beginning of the show, when you were just learners, obviously you've all come on in the last 2 hours, best 5 cards count, that's all. So both players there have 5, 5, 6, 6 and an ace. The 10 and the queen don't count anymore.
So Charwell's putting in a raise with the 9s. Just folds round to him. No one else had much to call with there. Look at me getting all the bad cards.
We only played 11 hands. Do you find it difficult to be patient?
I'm getting better. Yeah, I do, I guess.
I think it is difficult. I think that...
If I'm to be honest, yeah.
I think that when people start playing poker, and for the first sort of year for a lot of people, and sometimes never actually, becoming patient's like the hardest thing. Because you don't buy into a poker game to sit there, do you?
I play a lot of heads-up games at home, actually.
So you can play more?
So I can play everything.
Well, you know, that's...
Fast and furious.
Makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people are the same. I mean, you know, the sort of fast, furious, short-handed games, that kind of thing, are very popular on the internet, and I think that's why.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is...
I'm getting a lot better. I find it difficult to be patient, but I'm getting better at finding it difficult and not playing cards just for the sake of it.
Right.
Even though it hurts me. I don't do it. Whereas when I first started, I was just seeing flops for the sake of it, even when I was sitting there with rubbish.
Well, it's just a learning process. It's like the monkey in the experiment where they get an electric shock when they go for the food and all that business. Eventually you learn because you lose.
Yeah.
And everybody has to go through that process.
Yeah.
Because they play bad cards and they'll get lucky occasionally and they'll win, but eventually they'll start losing a lot with bad cards and then they won't want to play them because it hurts.
But how do you get over losing with good cards?
Oh, Lyndsay. No one's saying it's easy.
Tell a joke. Jonathan sent an email in. Bless you, Jonathan. And Jonathan says, great show as usual. I've just heard the jokes you read out and enjoyed them. Here's one of my own. Why did the transvestite win on ladies' poker night?
I don't know.
Because he held the nuts.
Delightful.
Thank you,
I get
Jonathan.
it. I'm quite impressed that there are some poker jokes.
I thought that was really good.
That was good. Chuckles takes this one. No hand, but a good bet, and that's good enough. And a freebie for double top, not that he needs it. He's our chip leader at the moment.
Oh, king 2. Not good.
Nothing wrong with king 2. Well, there is, but...
Prefer king.
Absolutely.
Double tops hit his queen.
Yeah, I'm quite surprised he didn't bet, actually.
No, and he's got himself a flush draw now.
And double top still doesn't want to bet that queen, but it's the best hand. And good enough to take it. Yeah, a lot of twos, Lyndsay.
I know. What I could start doing at this point is where I'm constantly look around and saying, he's got more than me, he's got more than me, and checking out how far behind I am and what position I'm in. Is that really bad?
I think you must, I mean, any tournament, whether it's a one-table tournament or a multi-table tournament, you need to have an awareness of where you are.
Yeah.
And because if...
What if it's a bit of an obsession?
I can't help you with your obsessions, Lyndsay. I guess the question is, what does it make you do? Does it make you panic if you're...
It doesn't make me panic, it makes me want to double up.
Right. If
No.
it makes you... Yeah, well, then it starts to be a problem, doesn't it? If it makes you make moves that you wouldn't otherwise make, then it might be a problem.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, it's not good to be the short stack in any tournament. So you want to be competitive if you can be.
So it is something I should keep an eye on,
It's
just
something you
not
should
let
keep an
it
eye
make
on.
me
It
panic.
sounds like you're worrying about it a bit too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably slightly more important, depending on the tournament situation, it's probably more important how your chip stack compares to the blinds.
Yeah.
But having said that, as I say, if you fall behind all of the other players, it is a problem.
Yeah. I wasn't too stressed at this point because I knew there was like 3 or 4 was less than me.
When it's early days.
Yeah. Yeah, the blinds certainly aren't threatening anyone at the moment.
And nobody has anything. So, as this happens a lot in No Limit Hold'em, the first player to bet here will take it.
Another 2 there, this time with an ace though.
And you've bet it. Oh no, you haven't even the big
I'm
blind.
on the big
Sorry,
blind, yeah, he's called me.
Okay, so that's a good flop for you.
Yeah. He just checked, so I thought, oh, softy.
That's good, Lyndsay. Well, I think so far you should be very encouraged by how you've played. Seriously.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're doing the main thing which I'd want you to do at this stage of your poker life, which is you're not playing too many hands. You only played one hand I've seen you play, which I wouldn't have played, which is the A7.
Yeah.
And when you are playing hands, you're not afraid to be aggressive. And that's great. That's half the battle. If you bet here, oh,
yeah,
just missed.
Should have bet there.
See, he's taken a pot away from you there, I think, unless you decide to call.
I should have bet first.
You should have bet first.
I was actually ahead.
You were actually
I had
ahead.
more outs.
Yeah. It's a good flop for you because you can hit your over cards and you can hit spade. And that's, he demonstrated the advantage of position.
Yeah.
To be fair to him, to be fair to Naomi, is he put in a big bet which put the pressure on you.
That was my fault for being weak. Should I have called that with King Jack there, do you think?
No.
I thought it was a bit too much.
Yeah, much too much. Because it's all about your stack now.
Yeah.
That's almost half your stack, which means that it's going to be very hard for you to throw it away. And you had a pair of nines, you were behind.
I thought he had a pocket pair, you see, then. I think that's what I thought, but I should have definitely bet that hand.
Yeah, it's not the worst mistake in the world, though, by any means. And the other thing about it is, if he hadn't put in such a big bet, I mean, I would prefer that you bet it first.
Yeah.
But if he hadn't put in a big bet, you could have called
Yeah.
and seen what came off, because you could have hit the king or the queen or a spade, obviously. So it's really not a big mistake at all. It's just good from a learning point of view. You can see the advantage of position, and B, the advantage of being aggressive.
Yeah. And see the advantage of being able to see what he had.
Yes, that definitely helps.
I've got an email off Gorky Park. He's sent in a quick poker joke to make me feel
another
better.
Joke.
Well, they're coming through thick and fast
We're
now.
voting Pandora's box here, Lindsay.
Gorky Park says, a man comes home very late from a poker game. His wife is standing at the door waiting for him with a rolling pin in her hand. And before she's got the chance to say or do anything, he says, honey, you've got to pack. I've just lost you in a poker game. She says, how in the world did you do that? He says, it was really, really hard. I had to fold a royal flush.
That's actually quite good. I think that's the best one so far, isn't
Excellent.
it? Obviously a bit sexist, but very amusing.
Very amusing, yeah.
Lyndsay Horne's got the ace-10.
Yes.
She's racing like a trooper. And you're going to take the blinds.
Is that okay?
Yeah, it's cool.
Not too much, or...?
No, I mean, you can just about afford to make that raise, because the problem that you get when you get short stacked is that if you make a normal raise, you don't have enough in your stack to throw it away if somebody re-raises you.
Yeah.
But you could just about get away with that. You'd left yourself 570 or something, so if somebody had moved you all in, you could have passed. Don't know if you would or not. Would you have passed, or would you have called?
I probably would have called, actually, with ace-10, I think.
You should probably throw it away.
Right.
Because basically, think about it, as you said already tonight, when people re-raise, they're usually saying they have a strong hand. And what you've got to think about is, what are you beating with ace-10? You're actually not beating very much.
No.
Any pair is ahead of you, any higher ace is ahead of you. So only if he's done it with something like king-queen,
Yeah.
or if he's made a complete bluff. And both those are less likely than him having a good hand.
Yeah.
So it's not easy to do, but probably throwing it away to a re-raise is right. Circle wins one. We've still got 7 players left, including our own, Lyndsay _Horne.
It's so annoying, though, because when ace-10 put me at the tournament last night, calling my all-in.
Yes, you've told us that, Lyndsay.
Have I?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. It's quite amusing because it just shows how upset you are about it. And this was 24 hours ago. Fives for Charwell, and I think that's a good example where if you're going to play them, and I personally wouldn't play a small pair with his stack at that point, but if you're going to play them, he should have just pushed his whole stack in, because if somebody comes over the top and he has to throw them away, he's leaving himself a bit short stacked, and by going all in, it reduces the chances of anybody playing with him.
Yeah.
I actually would have just passed the fives there. I don't think they're a strong enough hand to put your tournament on the line at that point.
Yeah.
But
if you're going to make it really big.
Yeah. Always a good idea.
Got some action here.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Oh, that is a big hand for Andy O. 3 queens. About a 54% favourite with the queens versus the ace king before
Full
the flop.
house now.
Obviously hits the queen. Yep, full house. Nice hand for him. And you've got your ace-10 again.
Yes, keeps coming to me. It was a bit of a feeble raise, wasn't it? Should have probably just pushed it all in there.
Yeah, I think you should have. It's double top that's now got a decision. Now what he's thinking, and maybe he'll leave an email and confirm this, is if he re-raises you, you're definitely going to call.
So yeah.
Because you've only got 490 left, and he's thinking nines, it's not quite strong enough to do that with.
Look.
Oh, that's very unfortunate. Well, that's very unlucky, Lyndsay, isn't it? Very unlucky.
Shocking. And Skinner was nearly out as well. I thought I would have skinned him.
No, I see, yeah. I get it.
That was unlucky though, wasn't it?
Of course. But this is the thing with...
But maybe if I'd pushed it all in, he wouldn't have even seen the flop.
Maybe. I mean, he only had a few... oh, this is bold. I think this is a good play. Personally.
I'm getting very short stack now, and I just thought...
You're very short stack. I mean, you hear me and other people banging on about it all the time. If you take the big blind the next hand,
yeah,
you're down to 440, which is very short.
Yeah.
So you've got to take a chance.
I thought I might not get anything better than King 9.
And
the big blind's coming round.
I think you're doing exactly the right thing. And it's successful. Fortune favours the bold.
The Hornster lives to see another day.
Fantastic. Majestic Horne.
So get in touch with us, guys. We want to hear what you think of the tournament so far. Also, we seem to be on a bit of a roll with your poker jokes tonight, keeping us entertained. So if you'd like to send those through.
We never even asked them. I don't even know how it happened.
Oh, this is it. Watch. You have to watch now.
I've been watching the whole time.
I'll give you the details in a minute. This is awful. Just...
Are you feeling a little bit sick?
Yeah, watch. Charwell. Look at that.
Charwell's pushed in. You've called.
I had to then. Kings.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Name exists. Difficult decision. Difficult decision. With the ace-queen. Charwell could have anything. You've called.
There's 1-2. Still ahead.
Ace or a 2.
On the river! Look at that! That's harsh, isn't it?
That is a dirty river. It's like the Thames.
It's like the Weir. That's how dirty it is.
That is very dirty.
Isn't that harsh?
That is horrible.
I was right to push in then, though, wasn't I? I couldn't...
Oh, of course you were. You got your kings. Bless.
It's horrible.
It seems like reliving it hasn't helped.
Yeah, it hasn't.
No, it's worse.
I thought it might have been therapy watching it back, but
It's bad.
it hurts just as much.
The thing is, with these tournaments, you will get into a situation where you have to push in. I mean, obviously with kings, you might push in at a much earlier stage, but you'll have some hand where you have to push in. The cards are turned over, and then there's no skill left, and it's never 100% 0%. The other guy's always got... Here we go. I was trying to make a serious point.
Trip 2 is knocking out kings. Would you believe it?
But you can't look at it that way. You've got to look at it as ace 2 versus kings. Whatever the chances of that are, I'll find out, because it's ace 2 suited, but roughly Lyndsay's probably about a 70% favourite, maybe more. That's all well and good, and that's great, and it means that Lyndsay's done the right thing. You've done the right thing, because she's ahead when the money goes in, but it's not 100% 0%.
Yeah.
The other guy has a chance,
yeah.
And he's hit his thing. Now, as it happens, he hit it in the most unlikely way, well, not the most, but one of the more unlikely ways, which was running twos. If he'd hit the ace on the flop, you'd be less upset.
Yeah.
That's just the way it's come out.
It's the fact it was twos, yeah, that's making it even worse.
But you've got to look at it as, if you want to play poker, you've got to look at it as, all I can do in poker is get my money in with the best of it. And then sometimes it will go my way and sometimes it won't, but it will go my way more often than not. And it becomes a hard game when you have lots of those in a row that don't go your way, as can happen. Even to a great player, that can happen.
Yeah. So overall, main mistakes, don't play a7.
I think genuinely...
Probably not.
From that small sample, admittedly, you've got reasons to be positive about your play.
Okay.
You were aggressive, you didn't play too many hands. You know, most of the mistakes that people learning the game make are they play too many hands and they play them too passively. Well, you guys were all watching, she didn't do either of those things. She played aggressively and, you know, you actually won a couple of hands because you played aggressively. I think when you pushed all in with the king 9 before the blinds, I thought that was a really good play that not many beginners would have made.
Okay.
Where you've gone out, the hand you've gone out in actually isn't very interesting at all. Well, it isn't.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, people always focus, and I'm sure you do this at home, always focus on what they went out on. And actually, quite often, hands that people go out on have played themselves because they found a good hand, they're a little bit short stacked, they've got to put their chips in, and it hasn't gone their way. Yeah. Well, B-O-O-H-O-O, that's poker.
It did play itself, didn't it?
It played itself.
Nothing
Totally.
either of us could do.
I think the learning points for you are... from that game, the most interesting hand from that game was where you had the king-queen, you flopped the flush draw, and you can see if you'd been aggressive there, you'd have won the hand.
Yeah.
You weren't aggressive and you lost the hand, and that's much more important as a learning point than don't let him get lucky.
I'll let him use his position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas you had an opportunity to win it. So that's the most interesting hand you played for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, you didn't do much wrong at all. It's good. It's good.
Do you want another quick poker joke just to cheer us up?
That's fine.
Will says, here's one I made earlier. A cowboy walks into a saloon with a chocolate bar and his Stetson. He sits down at the poker table opposite the sheriff, and the sheriff says, "Hey, I recognise you. You got a bounty on your head." The cowboy says, "Sit down and relax, it's just a Kit Kat." Right, we're going to get back to a tournament now. It's my second one. Did you like that one?
No.
Right, we're going to get back to have a look at the second tournament I
Yes.
played in, see if we can learn anything from this one.
Okie dokie. Let's have a look at that. Keep those jokes coming in. Or not. Your decision.
Oh, I've got lots.
Remember, guys, we say every night it's your show, and at the moment you're deciding to make it a jokes show.
Your class, honestly, is brilliant.
We've got about 20 poker jokes.
I've even got a little Johnny one. I'm sorry, that came out a bit wrong, didn't it?
Yes. Yes, it did. Lyndsay, Horne, you've got 2 pair. Look at the screen. This is your second go, and you've got 2 pair.
2 pair.
It's more like it.
I just thought I'd have a little cheap look with the King 7 while it was... If someone raised, I was going to throw it away, but I thought I'll see if I can have a cheap look.
Now, you could have checked there instead of betting if you'd wanted to.
Right.
It's difficult because probably you should have checked, hope someone else bets and then raised, probably, but I actually would never really criticise anybody for playing fast. Not
Okay.
fast playing, you know, betting when you've got a good hand. Nothing wrong with that, really. So it's good. So we're off to a flyer.
We're chip leader, Nick.
Chip leader.
Look at that.
Come on. Come on, the PNLT.
Get in.
If only it ended now. Do you remember the Cracker Joke book?
No.
Actually, you're probably about 2. I was about 8.
No.
It was rubbish. It was a very big seller. It was like children's jokes written by children. So children had sent in their jokes, and the best ones were published in this joke book. And it took me 12 years to get one of the jokes in there. It's absolutely true. The joke was, I read the joke and I didn't get it.
Yeah.
And I read the Cracker Joke book a couple of times, and every time I read this joke, I didn't understand it at all. And then I understood it on the toilet 12 years later, because it just popped into my head, and I thought, oh, that's what it means. I love Robbie Boxer's Got a Straight. It's true, completely true story. And the joke was, how do you get down from an elephant?
Right.
And the punchline is, you don't, you get down from a duck or a goose, one of the two. So it's like
I
down.
don't get it.
No, it's not very good, is it? But it's like getting down, as in getting down from a big, tall animal, and getting down, as in down you put in pillows. So
Oh, that's really awful.
it's rubbish.
Yeah.
And you can understand me as a child of 9.
Well, how is a 9-year-old meant to get that?
Thank you. I mean,
I'm
I
26
was,
and I didn't get it.
I mean, I was very intelligent at the time. I still am.
Mind you, I am slightly challenged.
Challenged. Interesting. Folly has got 3 queens and decides to raise. I think they're just calling is probably slightly better because it's very unlikely that he's not winning. There's no flush draw, there's no straight draw. So I think he could play that a little bit more cleverly.
Ace 2.
Ace 2 for the Hornmeister General.
Little call there.
Yeah, first time I've seen you do that. It is early in the tournament, so it's not too bad. I think we found a little weakness in your game. We need to get this out of you. Playing these dodgy aces.
Yeah, I do get a bit carried away with aces and forget that the kicker can be quite awful. No,
Well,
luckily for me, they just checked, so I managed to stay in and see another card.
It's turned into the best hand, isn't it? And you do the right thing, put in a good size bet. And I Love Robbie Box isn't going to be playing, I don't think. Oh, look, Madnev's tried to, well, kind of a bluff, really. And you've called correctly. Good decision. And you won, and now you're serious chip leader, man. Come on.
I'm doing it again with me ace 3.
All right, well, now you've seen yourself do it. It's embarrassing.
Yeah,
isn't
it is, isn't it? I keep doing it.
Well, you've hit the flop a little bit. You're in a roll, Linds.
Chip leader still.
Awesome. Great response on the emails tonight, guys. Thank you for sending them all in. Probably won't get through them all, so if we don't read yours, I apologise. But it's good, isn't it, Lyndsay?
Yeah.
Got loads. Not all of them jokes.
No, some of them very serious poker questions,
That's
which
right.
we will cover as well. But we are enjoying your jokes as well. I didn't know there were so many poker jokes out there.
I still don't think there are.
They're coming through thick and fast.
That's harsh. Some of them have been funny, haven't they? Well, Lyndsay's got the best hand here. And if a queen comes, Robbie could be in trouble.
I like that.
perfect flop for you, isn't it, with the Jack High? Well, the players still haven't worked out that when you bet, you've got a hand.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You'll play poker for a long time before you start playing poker with people who actually will figure that out. Well, you've still got the best hand.
Yeah, so far every time I've gone in, I've had something, haven't I? Although
Check at the end, and
don't
look at this,
take that for
1,600
granted.
chips.
Yeah.
Goodness me.
Where does it all go wrong?
That's what I'm wondering. Well, I didn't
So
see.
far,
I didn't
so
see.
good.
I didn't see it went go wrong. So I'm with the viewers on this one.
But so far, so good.
Oh, and now we've got a pot worth winning. 3 of them. They've all missed. And again, aggression will out here. If anyone bets, they'll probably take it. And look at that.
Yeah.
You see the advantage of position.
Seeing the weakness, putting in the bet, and if someone come over the top of him, he could have just put it down.
Yeah, he could. And I think that players sometimes worry about that too much. They worry about being check raised too much. It doesn't actually happen that often, especially when you're playing, no disrespect to anyone, but when you're playing at the lower limits, at the lower levels of poker, there's very little check raising.
Yeah.
And, you know, if players check to you, if there's 2 or 3 of them, if there's lots of them, then you'd be a bit more wary. There's a couple of them, they check to you and you're in last position. You can very often bet without any cards at all and you'll win the pot, as we saw there. Position's just so important. So important. You've got another joke for me?
Yeah, we're going to leave that tournament while I'm ahead, and okay. I'm going to maybe we won't go back to it. Tony says, little Johnny, who just turned 6 and much to his parents' anger, had never spoken. Johnny's grandpa, a well-known local poker player, was sympathetic to Johnny's plight and would take Johnny with him whenever possible. One regular bonding between grandpa and grandson was at the Elks Club Saturday night, 10 to 20 hold'em game. Johnny would sit on grandpa's lap, I'm getting worried now, and faithfully watch as grandpa regularly cleaned out the town council members, local attorneys and judges. At last, one Saturday night, grandpa seemed to be missing every flop and was on the verge of tilt for the very first time. Near the end of the evening, in a capped pot with grandpa on the button, he looked at his cards only to see 2-7 off suit. Furious at his run of bad luck, grandpa splashed the pot with a call. Johnny looked up at his grandpa and said, "You shouldn't have called that bet, grandpa." Grandpa was stunned. "Johnny, you're 6 years old, and these are the first words you've ever spoken." Johnny looked at grandpa and said, "Well, up till now, you've been playing just fine." I can't believe it took that long to get to that punchline. That's the biggest anticlimax I've ever had. Sorry then.
Well, you're ahead of the game then, Lyndsay. Well done. That's the biggest one I've had tonight. Yeah, thanks, Tony. Literally, I could have released a series of top-selling poker DVD instructionals in the time it took for us to do that one.
But thank you for sending it through.
I'm still not convinced that poker makes the best jokes.
No, I've got more though. More to come after.
There's more.
After
there is more.
If you want to send some through to us, or indeed your questions, you can text us in the studio. Just put the word poker on your message, and there's the number on your screen.
Up to now, you've been playing just fine.
84222, or email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk.
Because he'd never spoken.
It's excellent. Well, we've got more poker news for you. Then we're going to take a short break, get back to the tournament, and more wacky jokes after the break. See you then. Welcome back to Poker Night Live. It's Nick.
Hello.
And Lyndsay here with you till 2 o'clock.
That was good. I might actually hire someone to introduce me as that when I come in every day.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it's cool.
We're here till 2, going to be watching some more poker very soon.
Got the final of the multi-table, haven't we?
We've got the final
Brilliant.
of the multi-table. We've also got another little bit of a Beat the Presenter tournament to watch. It was going...
I thought you said we'd ended it there because you were ahead and that was the end of the tournament, the end.
Yeah, we might have to go back and
really?
watch the bit where I get knocked out just so you can tell me how awful it was. I've got an email from the double top who was in the first game.
Yes, okay.
I played, who says the split pot, I had ace 10 and name exist had ace queen. I bet 60. What would have been a better raise? 120, 140 or 160? I only bet 60 as it was 3 times the big blind, but I've had a few players mention during my play that if I raise 2 or 3 times the big blind, then I've hit the flop. Then on one night on Poker Night Live I played, and I did play out of character and a lot looser than normal just to help with my table image. I must say I do have the game recording, the sit and go on Sky Plus. I must agree with Nick. When Lyndsay wins, I'm trying to organise a table next time that Lyndsay plays and all 7 players play to lose, and then she has to go on a date with me. I've checked with my lawyer and it's a legal contract. Oh, really?
You said it, not me.
You
said it on air, Lyndsay.
You've obviously not met my lawyer yet then, have you?
I can't believe you got yourself into this mess. I'm sure he's a lovely lad.
Right. He says...
She's engaged, man.
I'm not.
Are you not?
No.
I was trying to get you out of it. All right. She's very committed.
Don't say that.
All right, she's available. Good luck. On you go. I hope you're happy.
Nick, never put all your eggs in one basket, for goodness sake.
You've every chance.
God.
All she has to do now is win a sit and go.
I got all flustered then.
Sorry, Lyndsay. I'm just trying to get you out of what is a legally binding contract. The only way you could get out of it is if you had a previous.
Get married?
No, if you had a previous contract that superseded that one. As it is, you're going on a date with double top. Good luck.
You might be fit. And he recommends that I read a Zen book. He says Zen and the Art of Poker, or his favourite is Zen and the Art of Archery. Maybe he looks like Robin Hood. And he says, unlucky on your bad beat, Lyndsay. Don't try harder, just play smarter. That's all.
Beautiful.
Oh,
the first part of his email, I'm really sorry, I can't remember the hand, which is
they went... I can remember it vaguely. He only put 60 in, and we kind of commented that it was too small, and he came over the top of him. He was actually ahead. It
was after the flop, though, right? Yeah. Well, I can't remember the pot size, but after the flop, what counts is the basically the size of your bet in relation to how much is in the pot. So it's not that you bet 3 times the big blind that was good or bad. It's how much is in the pot, and. To make a significant bet in No Limit Hold'em, and I apologise if it was a significant bet and I read it wrong, but a significant bet in No Limit Hold'em would normally be sort of 2/3 of the pot. That would be like an experienced No Limit Hold'em player, that would be their sort of normal bet, I think. And then you would vary it depending on what you're trying to achieve. You might bet more if you want to discourage people from doing things, you might bet less. But yeah, sort of, if it's a standard bet where you want to take the pot there and then 2/3 or higher of the pot.
If you want to send a question or a comment through to the studio, we'd be
happy
to receive them.
If you're fit.
Yes, but what constitutes as fit?
That's it. That's your business, Lyndsay. You decide.
So, questions, comments, photographs, or poker jokes, as a lot of you seems to have been sending in. You can text them. Just put the word poker on your message and send it to 84.
I'd like to point out that I am legitimately single.
So am I.
You're not?
No, I'm not engaged though. 8422, same thing. And poker at pokernightlive.co.uk.
I hope he's not watching.
He's at a party tonight.
I see. I see.
Right. Do you want another poker joke before we get to a game, or should we get to a game and get a joke later?
You're in charge, Linz. Whatever you think's appropriate at this juncture. It seems we're already in deep waters.
I'll do another wacky joke for you. This one's from Tragic Trev.
Oh, here we go.
Okay, who says, in a 10-20 Hold'em game, a drunken James Browning apparently was beginning to get out of hand. Well, that one was a beep, 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 beep river card from you, dealer. James swore out after missing the flush. The dealer said, "Sir, there is a young lady at the table. If you don't control your language, you'll have to leave." On the next hand, James doesn't improve his set on the flop and loses to a straight. Beep, 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 beep. Swearing badly again, James gave loads of abuse to the dealer. This isn't mine. Don't blame me. The dealer was absolutely at his limit. "Sir, I'm telling you for the last time, there's a young lady at the table. Control your language or you'll be escorted out of the building." On the following hand, every player in the game wades into the pot. There are raises and calls on every card. In the end, the drunk sucks out an inside straight and wins the highest pot of the month. The drunk, this apparently is James in this joke, looks out over his pile of chips at the dealer and says, "Do you boys pull your tips together or do you keep them for yourself?" The dealer replies, "All dealers here keep their own tips." The drunk tosses 2 green chips at the dealer and says with a grin, "Well, have a beeping tip on me, you beeping sheep beeper, mother beeper." The dealer picks up the $50, turns to the young woman and says, "Miss, I'm afraid you'll have to leave the table." And believe it or not, folks, that was a joke.
Oh, it's because they flipped it at the end there.
Flip reverses.
Actually, do you know what? We have to say thanks to the jokes because we were trying to figure out why we suddenly got lots of jokes. And I think it's because I said that I would needed entertaining.
Yes.
And then somebody said a joke and then somebody said lots of jokes. So thank you for all the jokes. They have been entertaining.
They have.
Some because they're funny.
Yeah.
Some because they're just
entertaining.
They're interesting. They're lovely documents, aren't they?
We are very grateful.
Yes.
Although I'm not, the fact that you've been sitting next to me all night and said you needed entertaining.
It's only because you were playing at the machine.
I know.
And I couldn't talk to you because you were in the zone. So I had to... The viewers had to entertain me.
So we've got one, poker at pokernightlive.co.uk or text the word poker to 84222. Let's
also taking your poker questions.
Yes, absolutely, and your comments. Right,
theoretically.
We're going to have a look at a game now. So let's head over to a table.
Is it the end of yours?
I think so.
No, it's the final table.
Final table of the multi-table tournament.
No, it's the end of yours.
It's me.
No, it's an episode of Emmerdale. No, it's... So, this is your second tournament.
Second one, yes.
And you're winning it.
I'm chip leader at the moment.
You really are. With quite a healthy chip lead.
I'm getting excited. It was a bad beat on the first one, though. You did a great, didn't you? Zitty says, "What's the difference between Lyndsay after a tourney and a young puppy? The puppy stops whining after 3 years."
That's good.
And he says, "Sorry,
Who was that,
Lyndsay."
Zitty?
Zitty.
That's probably the best one so far.
He says, "Sorry, Lyndsay, you're doing just fine. Love Zitty."
Apart from the whining.
I love our viewers.
They are the best. They are the best. I Love Robbie wants to play every hand. And hasn't helped too much so far. Great flop for Mad Nev. Flush draw and a straight draw. Any king, any 8, any spade.
Lots of outs.
Yep, and he does the right thing, which is to bet it. Play aggressively when you've got a good draw like that.
I don't know how I ended up losing this when I was up to that.
Well, I think we're all wondering.
I forgot now. I'm thinking, how did I go?
What do you do with the pair of nines? This is a tricky hand. Called the minimum raise. I was just trying to think what I would do in that situation. I might well call too.
If Folly had just called, then I would have raised more. But because he'd raised before me, I was putting him on something better. I don't know. I think I was putting him on.
I mean, the thing is, you've got enough chips to make that call, and it's not very expensive for you. And see the flop.
He's got a straight draw now.
Yeah. I hope you're going to throw us away.
Too many dangers, get out quick.
Absolutely. I mean, you got a nice spot there because if Obviously, if a 9 comes, that's great. If a 9 doesn't come and he checks, you then might be able to take the pots. But he bets, so it's only cost you 5% of your stack, so it's nothing wrong with that.
And even though I had the best hand after the flop, he had loads of outs, didn't he?
Well, even if you didn't, the point is you have no way of knowing you've got the best hand. And he's done the right thing, which is to make what we call a continuation bet, which is that he raised before the flop. And so he should bet after the flop because it's very difficult for you to know whether he's hit his hand or not.
Yeah.
Whereas if he checks, it suddenly becomes pretty likely that he's missed. Viewers, see if you can interpret what's about to happen from Lyndsay's noises.
Aces with bad kickers just seems to come to me, and something makes me.
You seem to like them.
Yeah.
Are you going to play this? Oh dear. Does it get worse?
I've shown weakness with the check. Please put it down, Liz. Please. Fold. Fold. Stop thinking. Oh, yeah, dear. Why am I playing with them? See that at least I've learned something tonight,
Yeah, it's great. Well, that's the whole point of doing this, isn't
They're not doing me any favours at all.
Yeah, and I think that you're not alone in terms of people who are newer to the game playing them more. I mean, the problem is, if you've got a hand like Ace-8, for example, what you've got to ask yourself is, what do you want to come on the flop? Because if an ace comes, like there, you're up against somebody that raised before the flop. It's impossible for you to know if he's got an ace or not, if he's got a better ace than you. That's very hard to know. If you flop an 8, well, you'll make a pair of 8s, but it's very rare that that will be the highest possible pair. So again, it's hard for you to know if you're winning or not.
Yeah.
They're just very, very difficult hands to play and very easy hands to get into lots of trouble with.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So yeah, we need to beat that out of you.
Oh, 8.
Oh, lots of hands out here, aren't there?
Kings, 10s, ace 10. So you just got callers so far. 200.
Big raise. And you're going to throw these away, aren't you, Lyndsay? And Lyndsay Horne.
I know.
Very disappointing.
No, I said, yo, you can have it. You can deal with each other now. That's what I was thinking.
Absolutely.
But I never should have put 200 in, should I?
I don't think so.
I'm dwindling away now. I'm annoyed with myself now.
Well, that's good. It's good to be annoyed with yourself, because then you'll do better next time. Nice spot for the kings to find 10s. And justice is done. They hold up. Big pots.
Shame they don't do that for me.
Now you sound bitter. Ace king. Ace king versus ace king.
This is really funny, actually, when we both realise what each other has. It's like, oh, at least we can share. No one's going to go out, so it was all quite nice and friendly. Sometimes split pots are quite nice like that. No one has to go, because you put so much in and you panic a bit.
Do you think you prefer a nicer game, like, I don't know, pass the pass?
See, was that right, what I did there? Put 400 in? Was that just a bit stupid?
No, it's not too bad. I mean, he's already put it up to 80, so you've got to... Might be a bit too big. You probably make it 300. And then, did you think about passing that? Or
no.
Not? No, okay.
I don't get that hand very often, so...
No, that's fair enough. Having put 400 in, and it's a split pot.
I did...
So you're still doing good. I mean, you've got 1,200 chips.
Yeah. My heart skipped a beat then, but when he turned his cards over, it was really nice. Because we shared.
What about quoits? I'm sure. Think of a nicer game that you might enjoy. Poker's a horrible game, really.
can be cruel.
It can be cruel. It regularly is cruel.
You need a thick skin, actually, don't you?
Yeah, you do. You do need thick skin because, say, without being immodest, I'm reasonably good at poker. I've been playing for 8 years. You know, I've played at a good level, etc., etc., etc. If I'd been doing that in a different game, if I'd invested the amount of time I'd invested in poker in...
I think this is it.
Oh, really?
So,
I'll shut up.
Sorry. I think...
You don't call here, do you? Oh, Lyndsay. Oh, dear. I don't know what to say. You know you've done wrong.
I know, look, I'm going to call again. I'll just put it in.
Well, now you have,
I had to.
Now you have
I had
to.
to.
Yeah, now you have
Just
to.
no
You've made
point.
the horrendous mistake earlier.
I was going, queen, 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 queen. Not that it would have mattered.
So talk us through why do you know why you called? Is it looking for love you didn't get as a child? What's that?
I just thought King Queen was pretty good and it was worth a bash.
Right, now, let's analyse what you're saying there. Worth a bash. Now, you raised.
Yes.
That's fine. And then another player re-raised you with a big
Massively,
re-raise.
yeah.
So, as I think we've already discussed tonight, what's he saying there?
He's saying he's got a really good hand, and actually it was me who said earlier on when someone re-raises you before the flop.
You did.
It's very...
You're absolutely right. You said it.
It was me who said it.
You said it.
That when we, on Poker Night Live, we can see everyone's hands, and when we see that happening, 9 times out of 10, they've got a really good hand.
Again, you've got to ask yourself the same question. You've got King Queen there. What you've got to ask yourself, so what we're talking about with Ace 10 is, when you see people re-raise, make big re-raises before the flop, we know what sort of hands they do that with. They do that with medium to big pairs and hands like Ace King, sometimes Ace Queen. Not much else really, do they?
No.
King Queen's losing to
You
all
might have done it with
those
King
hands.
Queen though. It might have been another split pot.
So your best hope is that you've got the same.
We could have shared it again.
But you know what I'm saying? You're basically in trouble. So you're basically putting your chips in there in a situation where the most likely outcome is that you're playing catch up.
And I had quite a lot as well at that point. I was quite comfortable. I didn't need to. It was stupid.
You won't do it again, will you?
No.
There you go. Learning has taken place.
It is a really good learning curve, actually, these
it
50% games, watching it back.
Of course it is. And, you know, you're not alone. The
But
guys
I knew
out there
that,
are
and
in the
I
same
know
boat.
when people do that, what it means, and I still called it.
Yeah.
I think maybe
But that's just experience. It's just that what you got to remember is when you actually sit down and play a game, it's all very easy for us to analyse these games because we do it from we're stood back and we can see all the cards, and it's very easy to look good. Still don't manage it. But when you're playing poker, especially online, but even live poker, everything happens very fast.
Yeah.
I mean, even live poker, you're making decisions reasonably quickly. And that ability to actually bring your knowledge into the moment and make a decision very quickly only comes after you've been through a certain situation a number of times. So your sort of instinct to go, oh, let's have a bash with King Queen, that is just a natural reaction. After losing that hand, or maybe it might have to happen again, don't know.
Yeah.
But eventually, when your instinct goes, let's have a bash, you'll remember
instinct what can happen when you do it, yeah.
I know that's not, but it has to happen very quickly, and it'll only happen very quickly with a bit of experience. So there we are.
But it is a good learning curve.
Good learning curve.
Hopefully.
But let's take the positives. You know, you're not playing too many hands, although you played a few, interestingly, you played a few more hands once you had some chips in the second tournament. Which isn't the worst thing in the world. If you've got chips, you can afford to play more hands. The danger is that you play more hands and you get yourself into bad situations you wouldn't normally get yourself into. So that's the danger, that's the kind of seduction of having lots of chips, so be aware of that. But on the whole, you're playing reasonably aggressively when you did play, and you weren't playing too many hands.
I had 63% pre-flop folds, apparently.
Yeah, so you probably played a few too many hands in the second tournament. But then you did get quite a lot of good hands. The big flaw we found, actually, is the aces,
The aces, yeah.
Bad aces.
And watching it back and seeing how easily they can be beaten.
Just get used to throwing them away.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's very early on, you're in late position, you shouldn't be considering anything less than ace 10.
Yeah.
They should just go in the muck as easily as 10-4.
Because that's been a pattern throughout the night, hasn't it? With it, I seem to get a lot of them though, didn't I? And just got drawn towards them.
Yeah.
Not again. Not
Everybody,
again.
everybody has little flaws in the game when they start out. Well, we all have flaws in our game the whole time, but you know, you have these sort of bigger ones. But the thing is, guys, you don't have the benefit that Lyndsay has to play in a game, then have it analysed and analyse it back. But what you can do is you can play in a game, and then as I keep trying to extol people that wanted to be better at poker to do, is to record your results, and particularly record key hands, and then you'll find out where you're going wrong.
Yeah.
And if you can get somebody, as I've done for Lyndsay tonight, if you can get somebody that's a little bit more experienced at poker to help you, you'll find that that'll shortcut it immediately. Because it takes somebody else to go,
to point it
you're
out,
doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong. And I had it when I was learning poker, and a lot of the other guys had it too. And you do need to find someone that you can trust to give you some good advice as well, I think.
Which is good because and you can tell that it works, because the very first one I played, I was on with Malcolm, and my main flaw then is that I was far too timid and I wasn't playing aggressively. And the one thing you said tonight is that when I've been playing aggressively.
That's good.
So I picked up that from the first one. And watching it back, I didn't realise at the time, I thought I was just being really cautious and really sensibly, but I was watching it back and saw some of the really good hands that I just was so weak with and could have taken down a lot more chips.
Yeah.
So I learnt from that, and that was through watching it back and having someone telling me. So if you can, you know, make notes, or, you know, get someone to maybe sit with you and look back through it, or just write these things down.
Email them into us.
Absolutely.
Even. But yeah, it is very helpful to have that third opinion. But if you're really honest with yourself, you can do it to your own play.
Yeah.
And all of the top players do that. All of the top players analyse their own play and are honest with themselves, because they don't get to be top players unless they're prepared to admit that they can learn and improve.
Yeah.
So you've got to have that, but I think you've got to have that in anything you do if you want to do it well. You've got to be willing to improve, and you've got to be willing to accept that you don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was, contrary to what you thought, I thought it was good. I thought it was really useful, those two games.
Yeah.
Hopefully useful for the guys out there.
Hopefully it was. Hopefully, you know, maybe you've been making similar mistakes to me, and it'll help your game as well. But definitely some things to consider for next time you play and next time I play, and hopefully be a bit better next time.
Wasn't that bad? Is that what you're worried about?
Okay, we want your questions through to us and your comments if you have any comments about the game.
Still time.
Or questions. We're here till 2, so get them through. You can text us, put the word poker on your message and send them to 84222, or you can email poker@pokernightlive.co.uk. If you've got a joke as well, a poker-related joke. We've had quite a few tonight, randomly.
We've had some non-poker-related jokes as well. It's become a bit of a joke fest.
Yes.
Great.
So send them through. And I think now, which is quite exciting, we've got the final table of our multi-table tournament.
Ah, brilliant.
Let's
Love
have a
it.
look.
Love it.
Now, we started off with 129 runners and 17 tables. The blinds have been going up every 12 minutes. 800, 1600 now.
And 5 players left for the money. So right down to the business end of proceedings. You're right, Lyndsay. It's not funny. It's the dramatic end of the multi-table tournament. Goober makes the small raise. And that's a raiser's flop. He can bet here and take it. Yeah, nice flop for him. Again, position holding sway. And it's anyone's tournament. Do you want to go outside and get a breather?
Just our wonderful viewers have been sending pictures in along with their emails tonight. Right.
Seen anything to take your fancy?
Oh,
Sandra's got all in.
Yep.
And she's run into a hand, and that's the horrible thing about this stage of a tournament. Sandra gets lucky and hits the ace. I actually read in a book called Super System that you might have heard quoted by the experts, Lyndsay.
Yes, I have.
The section on... I can't remember, because different people write different sections in the book. Anyway, it's a section written by a guy called Candrell Addington, who was a prominent player in the 70s, one of the old school players. And he refers to tournament poker as a perversion of No Limit Hold'em. And the reason is that No Limit Hold'em was a game that used to be played as a cash game.
Yeah.
And so players would put down, you know, $1,000, say $5,000, and the blinds would be, say, $25 and $50 or something like
Yeah.
that. When we show the big cash games, it's like that. And it's a game that's designed to be played after the flop. So an initial raise wouldn't be that big, and everyone would have plenty of money left after the flop, and
Yeah.
there'd be a lot more betting on the flop and the turn of the river. When you play a tournament, and when a tournament gets down to this stage, there's a lot more betting before the flop. And if you watch any of the big tournaments on TV or anything like that, all the decisions are made before the flop.
Yeah.
And as you know, when you went out in your tournament yesterday and you were unlucky, that will decide your night, whether or not that, you know, whether or not you get lucky in those big pots where all the money goes in before the flop will decide whether you win or lose. Senor Whippy there just lost a pot to Sandra where he did absolutely nothing wrong.
Yeah.
But all the money and all the decisions have been made on the first two cards.
Yes, and then just had to let it play itself
Yeah.
out.
And this form of poker is extremely popular. It's, you know, sweeping the world. And the reason it's doing that is that there is a higher luck factor involved when it gets to this stage. And that means that anybody can win a big tournament because all of the money's going in before the flop. And even if the pro gets everything absolutely right, and he reads the situation perfectly, and he knows he's got the best hand, he gets all the money in, the amateur player can still hit his cards and beat him, which makes it very appealing to members of the public, because it means that they can win these big $1 million prizes. But it does take some of the skill and some of the subtlety out of the game. Here, Kawini has got a 25% chance to win this hand. Doesn't happen on this occasion, and he'll leave us in 5th place.
Yeah, $80 he will take in 5th place. $1,000 was the total prize pool. Top 10 places paid out. There's the hand there where we lost Kawini. But he still takes $80 for his $10 buy-in.
He does, still a good return and a good performance to finish 5th. I should emphasise that good players will still make more money out of tournaments, and bad players will still lose money in the long run.
Yes.
That's all still true.
But it's the fact that it's still possible for more inexperienced people to actually win big. That's making it so appealing.
That's what makes it popular. But it is less skillful. The late stages of a tournament are much less skillful than, say, a cash game where everyone's got lots of money and you don't make these big moves before the flop.
And it can be quite cruel when you do have, you know, it is just down to bad luck. But then I think that's another thing that makes it so appealing. The highs are high and the lows are low.
That's totally what makes it appealing. And it's a really good balance between skill and luck because, you know, sometimes you'll win a tournament. I'm sure all experienced players will say this. Sometimes you win a tournament and you've got lucky in key hands. Sometimes you win a tournament and you've played brilliantly. Sometimes you play brilliantly in a tournament and finish 30th. You know?
Ace, King, Ace, Jack. We're going to see someone pushing in here, do you think?
Well, that's a massive raise. I don't quite understand that. Well, he's deep's called.
Yeah.
And now needs to hit the Jack. Well, I didn't like either of their play there. Goober didn't need to raise that much.
Yeah.
He's got a strong hand and he can probably get some chips out of his opponent. And then Deep definitely didn't need to call him, and he's worked hard for 2 or 3 hours to get to this point.
Yeah.
He's pulled his chips in with Ace Jack.
$95 he goes with in 4th place. Look at that flop for Senor Whippy.
Nice. He's whipped up a full house.
Just puts in a little 1600 there.
Yeah, trying to make it look like nothing.
Yeah. Another 1600.
Oh, well, that's perfect for him.
Oh.
Goober's made a full house and has overbet it, really. Again, overbet it last hand as well. And all Senior Whippy has to do is call with Queens full of 8s.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, these guys are playing really fast, putting in really big bets, and they don't have to, because they've got a reasonable amount of chips compared to the blinds, but they're not messing about.
The blinds still aren't really that big that they're going to do anyone any serious damage just yet. Sandra's getting a little bit close, but it's there's still a lot of play left. Yeah.
I just seen Goober putting these big bets, and I don't know if he's been doing that all tournament or not, but certainly doing it now. He doesn't need to. Sandra, by contrast, is making these double the big blind raises.
Just hit a ace, but Goob's got the flush draw.
Oh, she'll want to play it fast. That's a good bet. Does Goob want to play for another spade? He doesn't. And I've quite liked what I've seen of Sandra's play so far. Still don't know if it's a man or a lady.
Probably a man.
Probably a man. If you get to 1:30, you don't know if it's a man or a lady. The alarm bell should ring. Sandra passes this one, and we've all gone a little bit cagey all of a sudden.
That's some big jumps in the money now, though. Third place is going to get $125, second place $200, and first place $300. So every place counts.
Yeah, it really does.
No one's really getting the cards now, though.
Well, at this stage of the game, it's not as much about the cards. There's only 3 hands being dealt, so statistically it's much less likely that a good hand will come out. There's only 3 chances for a good hand to come out.
Is it a lot more about aggression now?
It's about controlled aggression, and it's about playing the players as well. These 3 players have been playing with each other at the final table for a good 40 minutes or so, and they should have a view about how each other plays.
Yeah.
So it's about trying to exploit that.
So ace, 10, king, queen. Oh,
wow.
he's better than me. He's
unusual fold, 3-handed. Very strong hand, 3-handed. Perhaps doesn't want to get involved. Maybe Goob's going down the line of seeing if he can sit back and let these 2 knock each other out, get heads up. Maybe he is.
He's got plenty of chips.
Well, Sandra has managed to make a straight. And just called at the end there because she was scared that Senior Whippy only needed a jack to have a bigger straight. And these guys are down to the final 3, and they're starting to play more conservatively, which is interesting. All looking for that big first prize. So when are you playing live again next, Lyndsay?
I don't know. I enjoyed it though. Soon, hopefully. No, I really enjoyed it. Although I did get in trouble off the dealer at one point because he said when I said raise. And when I put my chips over the line, I think I was raising 200, I put one down and dropped the other one on top of it. But I didn't think I was doing anything wrong. Apparently you have to put them both down at the same time together, or just drop them in like that, someone told me. And I thought it was a bit petty, to be honest.
Well, you've fallen foul of the string bets law.
Yeah, that's what somebody said, even though I was still a bit confused what I did wrong. But
well, a string bet is where in the olden days, gamblers used to have all kinds of tricks. I was reading actually about a guy called Puggy Pearson. One of his tricks was he used to put his chips in with his hand on them at the end of a hand. So, like, say you got to the river and somebody makes a bet and he's not sure if he's winning or not. He'd put the hand on the chips and move them in, but not take his hand away. And his opponent would turn his cards over, thinking he'd been called. And if Puggy was winning, he'd take his hand off and obviously win the hand.
Yeah.
If he was losing, he'd just pull the chips back and say, no, I haven't bet yet.
So because he's not let go of them.
He hasn't let go of them, which is a technicality, but in those days, absolutely true. So there are all these kinds of manoeuvres they used to do. And one of the manoeuvres they used to do is they used to, like, say you bet, I would call the bet by putting in your call and then reach back to my stack and go as if I was going to raise, and then I would judge your reaction. And if you looked like you were confident or you were happy or whatever, I might not raise. If you looked like you were worried, I would raise. So I'd use that little time interval to try and get a read on you. And that's called string betting. So there's been a law for several years now where you're not allowed to go back to your stack.
But the thing, literally...
Well, if I could just, you know, make the point, Lyndsay, I would say that means that you can't make two movements of any kind. So you can't have lots of chips in your hand, put down one, and then put down a couple more, and then put down a couple more, right? For the same reason, because you could be doing the same thing. You could be going 50 and getting a read. Yeah. Okay? So that's the law you fell foul of. The way to avoid it is to say raise. Yeah. And to say how much before you touch your chips, basically. If you're a beginning player or you're learning or you're just in the early stages, the safest thing you can do is go raise 500 before you touch your chips and then put your chips in.
Because I did say raise. And
if you, to be honest, if you said raise, he's potentially being a bit harsh by having a problem with it.
There was literally a millisecond between when one chip hit the other.
Well, I mean, for me,
it was like that.
It's like a lot of things in life. There's a letter of the law and a spirit of the law. For me, he or she was just being picky. There's no, you know, there's no way that you're gaining an advantage by doing that, and there's no way that any other player is disadvantaged. And as with rules in anything, the rules are there to protect you and protect other players, and to make sure nobody gets an unfair advantage. Yeah. Well, by dropping your chips a second apart, you're not gaining an advantage. Yeah. So, you know, they shouldn't really have had a problem with that, I don't think. Sandra's found a real hand, ace queen, and moves in with it, which is bizarre. See, that's one of those moves that inexperienced players make that I never understand. Goober's bet 2,000, made up the blind, and Sandra's put 45,000 in the pot. Yeah. Well, basically, she's risking 45,000 chips to win 2,000. Yeah. Well, that's not a good deal, is it? Because the only time that Goober's going to call her is when he's been slow playing a massive hand. Yeah. Everything else he's going to throw away. If he's got something like, you know, King 10 or something, with that big a bet, he's going to pass it. Whereas if she puts in a smaller amount, he might call this King 10 and then she's ahead. Yeah. So I don't understand over-betting like that. Because you're putting all your chips at risk.
She's putting the tournament on the line.
Absolutely, she is, yeah.
Well, she'd still be in the money, but still $75 difference between second and third, so...
Well, you never want to put your tournament on the line unless you're sure it's the right thing to do. I'd understand it more as a bluff. I mean, I still don't like it. It's not a move that I would do, but I understand it more.
When she actually had a really good hand.
She had a good hand, and, you know, you can't be afraid to make decisions in this game. You can't... sometimes players move all in a lot because they don't want to make decisions. They just want to get their chips in. Yeah. Sonia Whippy hits a pair. This is one of the adjustments you have to make when you get down to three-handed or two-handed, and that is that middle pair is actually quite often a good hand. At a full table, it's not. It's a weak hand, but this situation, it's quite often winning, and we can see this time it is. Well, Goober doesn't want to bluff, and Sonia Whippy will take her down, and Sonia Whippy slowly catching Goober up.
I've got an email off Graham who says, "Hi Lyndsay and Nick, here's my poker joke."
Oh, it's a poker joke.
It's a poker joke. A little boy is asked by his teacher, what comes after 6? 7, he replies. Well, that's very good, replies the teacher. How do you know that? My father taught me, he says. And what comes after 8, asks the teacher. 9 is the reply. Wonderful, says the teacher. Your father's taught you very well. So what comes after 10? The teacher says. Jack, replies the boy.
I quite like that.
I don't get it.
What do you mean? What do you mean you don't get it?
I don't get it. I don't get what's...
Are you stupid? Come on, Lyndsay.
No.
What?
What, so his mum's having an affair after 10 o'clock or something?
Yes, that's right.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And yes, and the child's seen it and also been touched by the parent. And it's... No, it's just a counting joke. So, like,
Jack.
it would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Oh,
10.
Jack, the cards! Oh,
Yahtzee! We have a winner.
I can't.
Well, the penny has dropped. I think I actually heard it. It's a massive clunk.
I thought his mum was having a secret visitor after 10 at night
what
called Jack.
What you've done there, Lyndsay, is you've slightly overcomplicated it. You've basically developed a variety of plot lines.
Can't believe it.
I know.
It was shameful I didn't get that. Thank you for that though, Graham.
We've actually got a little glitch in the matrix, Lyndsay.
Oh, we'll get it back soon as. Graham says, keep up the good work. You're certainly helping us fish to become sharks. More fish gags as well.
Well, big decision for Senior Whippy. Entire tournament on
Tim.
the line here. Gone for it with the ace-king. Facing a pair, slight underdog, needs to hit, doesn't. And we're heads up. Senior Whippy goes out with the ace-king. Very difficult to get away from three-handed. Obviously, it's a very big hand. And you can't criticise him for going out with it. Obviously, he's desperately hoping that Goober's got like an ace-queen or an ace-jack. And wouldn't have liked seeing the pair. Slight underdog to the pair, but roughly 50-50.
Lots of $125 Whippy has won for coming in third place. We started off with 129 runners and 17 tables.
Well, Sandra has taken a massive gamble here. Basically representing a good hand. And Goober's not going for it. And Sandra's throwaway has left herself with only 17,000. Well, again, the blinds are 1,000, 2,000. And so that was a big gamble to take. And it hasn't come off. And this is where Goober should, I don't know how much heads-up experience he has, but he should ease up here. Basically, he's got Sandra exactly where he wants her, and he doesn't want to double her up. Sometimes people with big stacks just call regardless. Here is fine, he's put the pressure on. King, Queen is a good hand, and Sandra will need 9 or a 7, or we're done. We are done.
We are done, yeah.
Didn't last long, did it, once he got there?
Goob takes it with his King, Queen, $300 for first place, and Sandra, $200. So,
well done to both.
Yeah, well done to both of them, both in the money.
And $300 for $10 buying is good, isn't it?
Very good.
Very nice. Worth having.
Spend it well. Right, we'll get a few emails before we go, shall we?
Okay, lovely.
Aaron says he's been watching... Oh, sorry, I think it's Aaron. He's been watching Poker Night Live for 2 weeks. He says, I enjoy the programme greatly. I was wondering if something I follow is the best way of going about it. If I land pocket pairs below 10s and they don't flop my third card on that number, I fold them. Not an advanced rule, but is this a good rule to follow to keep my bankroll high?
What do you think, Liz?
I think absolutely yes, absolutely right.
Absolutely right. You basically, if you do play a small pair and people play them too often, I wouldn't even be ashamed to throw the small pairs away. Sometimes, if somebody's raised, always throw them away. Or while you're beginning player, definitely always throw them away. But yeah, if you don't hit the third card, then you should be done with them. And welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. We love hearing from new viewers that have got the Poker Night Live bug.
Graham has been in touch, and Graham says, I really enjoy watching your programme and always learn a lot when I tune in. He says, Lyndsay is a good reason to tune in. Oh. He actually says I'm a good poker player, which is quite surprising.
Graham's drunk, Lyndsay.
Yeah, he must be. He says, tonight, rather than technique, I have a question about etiquette. I always make a point in sit and goes of saying...
GG, good game.
Good game to players who go out. I also tend to say nice hand, I know that one, to anyone who wins with trips or above. Recently I've had a few people who make rude comments about this and seem to object. For example, where they think a losing player didn't play very well, they object to mine saying good game. Am I being too polite, and should I stop saying this unless the hand is extremely good or the player was really good? Personally, I don't think so, but I'd be interested to know what the normal etiquette is. Also, I've noticed a lot of players laugh when I lose, especially if I'm knocked out of the tourney. I would never do this and find it irritating. Is this typical of the poker circuit, and should I just harden myself to it? Or is it more typical at lower levels, and should I expect more civilised conversation as I join more professional players at the higher levels? Keep up the good work. And that's Graham, who is Tango Man.
Thanks for the email, Graham. The thing about poker is it attracts all kinds of people, all walks of life, all different personalities. Some of them are lovely, like you, some of them are scum. But that's just the world at large, isn't it? And as I said, they're all playing poker because poker appeals to everyone. Keep doing what you're doing, I think. Why be impolite? What reason is there to be impolite? There's no set etiquette. I mean, online poker's such a new thing anyway. Plenty of people I know say good game. I say good luck as well. I never mean it. But it's just nice, isn't it? And it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
It is. Manners cost you nothing.
That's right. And other platitudes that will help you.
Right, I've got another one here. Hasn't got a name on it, but it says, I find cash games expensive, but since finding sit and goes, I've had a lot of success. Is this because this is the game I watch on TV, or do people play differently as the money involved is much less and they play loosely?
Probably just means that your style is better suited to sit and goes. Sit and goes and cash games are very different environments. You need a different kind of style usually to win in one than you do in the other. Sit and goes aren't necessarily cheaper or more expensive. It depends what limit you play a sit and go at and what limit you play a cash game at. Remember that I was talking to another poker player about this yesterday actually, and we were saying that people play cash games that are too high. They overestimate which way around is it? It's very late at night. They overestimate how high they can play relative to their bankroll. So try playing a lower cash game would be the advice. But if you're doing better at sit and goes, maybe because you're watching on TV, maybe it's because of your style. If you're doing better at them, stick with sit and goes. No worries.
Jeff Harmus.
This is Geffermouse.
Geffermouse.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I say Geffermouse.
Says, I'm with Howard Leisure on the subject of betting. I remember him as saying that if a pot is worth entering, then it is worth going in strongly. There's a lot to be said for making a definite statement of intent with your bets and raises. He says, playing in a similar positive manner covers many minor faults, as the opposition will normally take the confidence as evidence of strength, and seeing strength may not detect lesser weaknesses in your play. Razzle dazzle them. He says, what do you think? Am I barking up the wrong tree with this show confidence approach?
No, absolutely not. It's incredibly important in poker. It's incredibly important in life, isn't it? If you have enough confidence in what you're doing, people tend to go along with it, as you say. Absolutely true. And we've talked all night long about aggression in this game of poker and how important it is to be controlled aggressive. You want to be the one asking the questions. You want to be the one making the bets and the raises. That way, bring it all back to what we said at the top of the show. You give yourself the two ways to win, having the best cards, but also having other people throw their cards away. And as someone said to me in my first year of playing poker in Vegas, if you're going to call with a hand, if it's worth calling, then it must be worth betting.
Right, unfortunately, we're coming to the end of the show, but thanks for all your texts and emails tonight. You really have been brilliant. Great questions and some funny jokes as well, so thank you. Tune in tomorrow from 10. Cass and Johan on tomorrow.
Lovely.
But we've really enjoyed tonight. Thanks for watching.
It's been great.
From me and Nick, good night. Thanks for watching.
Night, night. See you next time.